2015 ECR season here from the World Center Race Daytona International Speedway. Got a 120 lap event. We've got almost 30 cars already in the field. It's myself, John Bucher, my broadcast partner, Colin Fern. But before we get to the actual racing action tonight, we want to take a minute, honor America, and play our national anthem. And here's to hoping that worked. We didn't test that at all, but that was America's national anthem. So, Colin, we're getting this thing going tonight. 120 laps. What do you expect to see out of these guys? I know it's been an off season of not too much length, only a few weeks here, but it's been months leading up to this event. What do you think we're going to see tonight?
I think we're going to see a mixture of things, John. I think we're going to see these guys that haven't raced in a while. They haven't raced these Gen 6s in an official race in quite some time. I think you're going to see those type of guys try to go to the front early. I think you're going to see them form the outside line. But you're also going to see those guys that have been waiting so long for this, and they don't want to tear their car up. So they're going to see probably guys, just riding the bottom line, trying to buy their time, make it to the end, and then race their way from there. I think you're going to see a mixture of those two things tonight. And I think we're going to see some great racing overall.
Every time we come to Daytona, there's always the two-strategy play where you've got guys, in real life, such as a Denny Hamlin, I believe, commented last week, at Dale Jr. most of the time, that want to go to the front. They don't want to sit around the back. They know they have fast cars, and they don't want to risk being caught up in someone else's mess. But then the risk plays of getting to the front, like you said. I mean, there's always cars you've got to pass. You put yourself in positions you might not want to be in. So I think it'll be interesting to see throughout the night who are the comers and who are the goers. And some of these guys that have the fast cars, I mean, we might not talk about them until the last, minute and a half of the race, even the last lap, 2 laps. So it'll be interesting to see, what guys want to do. Always fun when we come to Daytona with the two side of the coin strategy here.
Absolutely. Last night, John, you and I both ran the Xfinity Series race here, Monday nights, 9:30 Eastern. We both ran that. We decided to go to the back of the pack, buy our time and just let it work itself out. And you also had those guys like eventual winner Kevin Cook. He just stayed up front the entire night, and that worked out for him. So, you and I both ended up with good finishes. So the mixture of the two strategies isn't too bad.
No, I think it really always comes down to a luck of the draw at Daytona. I mean, you can sit out all night out back like we did, and I know I got caught up in 3 wrecks sitting in the back of the field last night. Was lucky enough to not have my car too badly damaged in those incidents, but I was caught in 3 wrecks. So you can kind of hang out in the back, but that has its own risks, because then obviously you get up front with the fast guys, and they want to make moves. In the back, you kind of have that lull of peace and single file, and up front, guys want to race. So you always have the split agenda. Another thing I wanted to talk about here was fuel. It's a 120-lap event. We know these cars can get to 40 laps on a tank of fuel. I think about 44 is probably going to be their max, unless we have some super fuel savers out there. But so the 40 laps is going to be a 2-stop race. Obviously, cautions fall at different times, changes that play. But what do you expect to see in terms of fuel strategy tonight?
Well, like you just said, you can go, roughly 40 to 44 laps, somewhere in between there, field run. But one thing you have to look out for is if one car, John, is leading the entire pack, the entire run, they're going to have to pit well before any of those guys in the draft are. And if someone stays out, out front in the front of the pack, for the first 25, 30 laps of a run, they might not be able to make it a two-stop race. It's going to be questionable to see if we can get those green flag runs to play in field strategy.
And you're exactly right. I mean, you can not really want to lead here and end up in the lead because nobody else wants to lead. I mean, it's a strange track in the sense that being out front isn't necessarily the best place to be. I mean, we see it throughout the race. You're burning more fuel. Coming to the end of the race, being out front is referred to as a sitting duck position. Being in second is the catbird seat. So you don't really want to be out front ever at Daytona. I mean, leading laps is nice. You've got bonus points to factor in for the championship, but leading here isn't exactly where you want to be, especially early on. I think we're going to see guys, I mean, there's obviously got to be a leader, but I think we're going to see some of the smarter and maybe some of the faster guys play a bit of fuel strategy in the beginning, knowing they can get back to that lead and fall back in line a little bit.
Absolutely, John. And like you said, it's a very different track. We go to super speedways 4 times a year, 2 times a year at Daytona. We go 2 times to Talladega. Both tracks have their own set of skills own set of features that require different skills to succeed. And I think Daytona is more of a buying your time type of track as opposed to Talladega, where Talladega you can make moves left and right. Here at Daytona, it's a tighter track. You can barely go 3 wide, maybe 4 wide if you're really lucky. It takes a lot more precision to be able to get to the end and finish well here.
Exactly. Daytona's not really a racecraft track. I mean, Daytona and Talladega come with their own set of rules and their own set of skills. I mean, you've seen guys throughout the years that have been dominant at super speedways, and they don't really show up the rest of the year, just because not only the draft plays a factor, but it's a certain skill set it takes to run these tracks. Some people have it, some people don't. We've seen some of the best names in NASCAR struggle at these tracks a lot, actually, throughout the years, not being able to run up front, not being able to have the runs they want to have, just because of the fact that, they don't get a lot of practice here. Obviously, you can run laps all day by yourself. You see the 01 of Wayne Willard doing here. But you can't run in a pack whenever you want. And it takes a certain amount of practice and time and learning to learn the pack and to learn the draft. Obviously, Dale Earnhardt being the one who said he could see the air. It takes a lot of time to get to a level where you can feel comfortable running in the draft and then feel comfortable making moves within that draft.
Absolutely. And one of the fastest cars all week, John, has been the 94 of Nick Gillis. Let's see if we can get a word with him here about what he thinks about today. Hey, Nick Gillis, Kyle Fern up here in the ECR broadcast booth. You got a copy, bud?
Hello, Colin. Yeah, I got a copy.
All right, man. You've been fast the majority of the week here at Speed Weeks. You've finished 3rd in your dual race. Have to go to the back for unfortunate circumstances. You're going to start from the back tonight. But you finished 3rd in the dual race. You know how to get it done. You ran well in the Unlimited. So what's your plan for tonight?
Well, I'm going to follow the plan that I've used all week long for the most part. I'm going to ride around in the back. Unfortunately, I did want to start at the front for this event, but we are going to have to start at the back due to unforeseen circumstances. But I'm just going to run around in the back and hopefully keep it out of trouble and be there at the end, because if I'm there at the end, I got a shot at winning it.
Absolutely, man. We know you drive for Gillis Bland Racing in the 94 car. What's your plan for the season, as a part-time owner? What's your plan for your drivers? What's your goal for everybody out there on your team?
Well, I'd like to see all 4 cars in the chase. Realistically, I'm not sure that will happen, but it's definitely a goal that I want to see. Ultimately, though, for the most part, I just want to see all 4 cars come home every week in one piece and finish in races. I'd like to see some wins, but finishing races is what's the most important thing right now.
Absolutely, man, and thank you for coming down here, taking time. Good luck tonight. Like you said, you're gonna be hanging out the back. We'll try to get the camera towards you, and good luck tonight, and good luck for the rest of the season.
All right, and real quick, I just want to give out a shout out to the love of my life, Chanel. You baby.
10-4, bud. Good luck tonight. Isn't it crazy, John, with all the pressure these drivers are under tonight, they're able to have some fun and relax and get some shout-outs tonight.
Always got to make time for those brownie points, even here at Daytona. Can never leave out the girlfriend when it comes to racing here. Got to give those shout-outs. That was Nick Gillis, as you said. Apologies. Driving the number 94 Chevrolet. His team,
and John,
Gillis Bland Racing.
And John, sorry to interrupt you there, but just looking at these drivers out there, they're focused. They're ready. and they're able to just relax. And these guys are so comfortable out here in these cars that they're able to relax and just have fun. And that's really what this is all about.
And I think that's a product of Daytona. I mean, you go out here with, I think, less pressure on your shoulders as a driver, just because you really know that a lot of stuff's out of your control, and that comes with a sense of relief, I guess would be the best word. I mean, you know that you're going to be able to run. You're going to run with a pack, and if something happens, it happens. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. So unlike other tracks where you have to worry about tire conservation and fuel mileage and pit stop strategies and passing and stuff like that, here it's kind of just go with the car in front of you and with the line and see where you end up. I mean, it's not a lot the driver can do, and I think that relaxes a lot of guys.
Absolutely, and I think that's, like you said, a product of Daytona, a product of super speedway racing in general. So that's one thing you have to look out for tonight. You may see that, so we call here in iRacing, an ARCA line, where you're just going to see those cars, just following one another. We had it last night for the first 10, 15 laps. I wouldn't be surprised to see it for, maybe even the first field run tonight.
No, and last night, like we said, we had the Xfinity Series race here last night. It was only 72 laps, which is just above half of what this race is going to be. So a lot more urgency, I believe, in that race. There was a lot of single file racing, and there was a lot of patience, but also a lot of guys maybe making moves they shouldn't have. It was a very caution-filled race last night. We certainly hope it's not like that tonight, but always a possibility. I think tonight you'll see a little bit more patience in the beginning, or maybe towards the middle. I think in the beginning you might see a little bit of raciness. These guys have been waiting for this, and you sit around and you practice and you qualify, and we ran the duels last week. I think these guys want to race. But I think for the most part, you'll see some calm out of these guys. I think they'll get into a rhythm. Maybe after the first caution, they'll calm down a little bit. I think we should see a pretty calm race for the most part until we get to the end, and then obviously Daytona happens.
Absolutely, John. And I think you had some questions here for league owner Anthony Thitchner. I think you'll take some questions for him.
Hey, Anthony, it's John up in the ECR booth. Got a copy, buddy?
Yes, sir.
Well, we're certainly excited to kick this season off. I know we've been talking about it for weeks and weeks. As a driver and an owner, what are you looking to get out of this season, not only team-wise, but as the league as a whole?
Looking to get through it, man. It's a really long season, and obviously just accomplishing the season and getting through it is one thing. So if we can do that and maintain our integrity in our rule book and have everybody on the same level, man, that's what we're looking at for success. So obviously we want to get through tonight. Tonight's Daytona. We understand it's Daytona. Anything can happen. We're looking forward to Atlanta. Tonight's going to be some good racing. We hope that we put on a good show, and it starts with tonight. Obviously every single week we're going to do the best we can to put on the best show that we can, and there's 36 weeks in Cup and there's 33 weeks in the Xfinity Series, and we're going to do the best we can to put on a show every single week, man. And hopefully, we're starting with like 30 plus guys tonight. We can get more. Hopefully we'll build on that and have more at the end. At Homestead.
I wanted to congratulate you on the huge field. I know we've talked about it coming up to the weeks leading to this event, but the fields have grown significantly here at ECR, so we want to congratulate you on that. I know you're always thinking as a league owner, but as a driver, what are you looking to get out of tonight and then maybe going forward to the next few weeks?
As a driver, I want to finish the race, and obviously, if you finish the race, you feel like you're successful at Daytona, but obviously with the high payouts and everything, you want to try to win it. So we have good cars tonight, Haters Make Us Famous Racing, and we're looking forward to working with each other near the end here and getting to the end. Obviously, we don't want to make anything planned and early on. We just want to get through tonight and be there at the end. You got to be there at the end to win it. So hopefully we got good cars. We've been practicing, and it's been really fun, and we just can't wait to get tonight started, man. We'll appreciate everybody that's watching tonight and you guys for tonight's broadcast, man. We definitely appreciate it.
Wise words there from Anthony. Make it to the end and see where you end up. So we'll let him get back up to the main team speak room here. Thank you, Anthony, for coming down, and good luck tonight.
Appreciate it, guys.
And again, that was your league president and owner, Anthony Thitchner, the driver of the number 87 Jim Beam Camaro. Or SS, I apologize.
And John, I'm down here with 00 Mark Figueroa. If I could say it right, Mark. Hey, congratulations on being owner of Classic Motorsports. We're looking for you tonight. You've been up front a lot all week. You got a fast car. We know you got a fast 00 machine. What's your plan for tonight?
My plan for tonight is just simple and try to stay clean till the end. You'll probably see me hang around in the back tonight, and then in the closing laps of the race, I'll try to move up to the front.
And that's one thing we see a lot of drivers talking about tonight is just trying to preserve their car to the end. How do you plan on doing it? You going to just ride, or are you going to try to drop to the back and just relax?
I'm just going to try to jockey back and relax. If it takes making a couple of pit stops and make sure I'm in the back of the field, I'll probably do that. But for the most part, I'm going to try to run on the high line, and if I run up towards the front, I'll run up front. But if I run towards the back, I'm going to stay back there until the bitter end.
Absolutely, man. And I see you're getting ready to grid down there, so good luck tonight, and good luck the rest of the season.
Appreciate it, and I'm going to need it.
And that was Mark Figueroa in the 00 machine. Let's see if we can get one last word here with Thomas Lattimore before we hit up our in-race reporter, Kevin Cook. Hey, Thomas Lattimore, it's Colin Fern up in the ECR broadcast, but you got a copy, bud?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, man, we know you're fast. We saw you and George last week in the duels here on MOTV. We saw you guys run up front. You finished second in the duel. You're going to start fifth place, tonight. What are you looking for out of tonight?
The win. It's early in the season, so we got plenty of time to make it up. Go for the win tonight. Gonna take it easy early though. Long race.
Absolutely, man. In Leadfoot Motorsports, what are you looking to get out of these next two races, or out of tonight and in the future?
I'd personally, I'd like to see us at least two of us up here in the top five. Maybe, of course, going for the win. But over the course of this season, I just like to see all my guys get a win, get some guys in the chase.
Absolutely, man. And well, good luck the rest of tonight, and good luck to Leadfoot Motorsports tonight and the rest of the season. And good luck to you as well.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
And John, you see a lot of these guys, having the same mentality. They're just going to ride it out and get to the back and just buy their time.
Yeah, at this point, I'm starting to wonder if we're ever going to have a leader. Most of these guys not seeming to want to go. Strategy looks to be hang at the back and see what comes of it. So, get ready to go green here. We're going to get a quick word with our in-race reporter, I believe.
Absolutely. Kevin Cook, this is Colin Fair up in the ECR broadcast booth. You got a copy, bud?
Yeah, 10-4. How you doing?
All right, man. You're going to try to go for the weekend sweep right now. You got the win last night in the B Series. What's the most difference between the Camaro and the SS? What are you looking for to try to get out of tonight as you did last night?
Well, Colin, these things really suck up pretty good, especially when two cars are tandem in front of you. So you can kind of hang with them, and in the B car you can't really do that. You kind of have to have help. So it's nice to be able to ride by yourself sometimes.
Absolutely. And sorry for the quick interview. We ran out of time. Good luck tonight, and good luck the rest of the season, buddy.
Thank you.
And that was the in-race reporter, number 45 of Kevin Cook. As this field gets ready to go green, Colin, want to give a quick rundown of our top 10 here tonight.
Absolutely. Jeff Hamilton's on the pole. Wayne Willard is going to be on the outside front row. He's in the 0-1. Ron Miller is going to start third in the 78. Thomas Lattimore in fourth place. We spoke to him earlier. He's in the 0-3. Paul Zada in the 63. Nick Groth in the 19, the outside row 3. Kevin Cook 7th. Sean Medling 8th, and we're green.
And we're green. Jeff Hamilton gets the jump, clears Wayne Willard by almost 2 car lengths. Front of the field strung out pretty good here.
Absolutely, man. And look at this. They're all trying to get down to the bottom. That's what they're looking for. We talked to a lot of guys. They're all in the same mindset. They want to get and just ride. And it looks like the first 10, 15 cars are all single file.
Yeah, I think the struggle here at the beginning is going to be to get to the bottom line. And we say that Wayne Willard pulls out a line here, I believe, but that's a 78 of Ron Miller. They want to make a move at this lead before Jeff Hamilton gets some help.
And what a poor, unfortunate, we get to that word already, Jeff Hamilton unable to hold on to that lead. He's not even going to be able to lead a lap early on.
Going to be a fight to the line here as Wayne Willard's going to take the first lap of the 2015 season in that 01 Chevy SS. Jeff Hamilton just got out there too far when Wayne pulled out a line. Wayne could, I think, pulled down in front of him. Didn't want to strand Ron Miller out there. Good move by him. Keeping friends early on in this event.
Absolutely. I mean, it looks like, other than the top two here, we got everybody single file all the way back to about 25th position. You got Thomas Lattimore pushing Jeff Hamilton on the bottom, Wayne Willard with help from Ron Miller on the outside.
Yeah, I think that's going to be what you see for most of the race, at least in the beginning part of tonight. It's going to be kind of a bit of a boring shot here from the camera. We'll do our best to keep you guys in any kind of action we see here double file. Wayne Willard's still looking for a hole down there. And now Thomas Lattimore pulls it on, looking to make a move on Jeff Hamilton.
And that's unfortunate for Jeff Hamilton. We get back to that word already. Jeff Hamilton, his teammates are nowhere to be found right now. Kevin Cook closest in 8th place. So he's kind of out on his own right now. I mean, Thomas Lattimore, Wayne Willard, these guys aren't teammates. But they all have this, last season's winner, Aaron Berge in the Xfinity Series, he drives. He owns Apocalypse Motorsports. And that's who Jeff Hamilton drives for. So they're kind of all out to get Apocalypse, it seems.
Yeah, they're kind of that upper echelon team here that everyone seems to want to get Hendrick, if you will, with the defending Xfinity Series champion Aaron Berge. As you see a little bit of a string out back in the pack. One car pulls high, maybe looking to go to the back. Nick Groth and Jeff Hamilton gap in the field just a little bit. Again, you don't want to get too far out. That's what allows these cars to get that run on you, but I think they'll suck back up here and fall back in line.
Absolutely. And John, we talked about, we got 3 wide already mid-pack, but John, we talked about in the pre-race show, we talked about, and while they're gridding, while we're doing all the interviews, everyone wants to ride. They say they want to ride, they talk about riding, that's their plan, and then the green flag drops. And when it gets to that point, you just want to go. You get that switch flipped in your mind that you're racing at Daytona, and you want to go to the lead, and I think that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I know anyone that's raced here at Daytona on iRacing, or on any racing sim for that matter, knows that you can make all the plans you want in your head, and you can say, I'm going to ride, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go to the back, and then when the green flag drops, and you get your first little bit of a draft and a little bit of a run, and you pull to the outside, and you might pass 2 or 3 cars, and then all of a sudden, your riding strategy is out the window, and now you just want to go. And I think that's what might happen to Wayne Willard. He pulled out, got that run, had the lead, led the first lap, and now he's kind of hanging out there on the outside lane. We'll see if the 78 lets him back, and I think he will, yeah. Slides back down in front of Ron Miller, but costing him about 6 or 7 spots there to make that run at the lead, but he does get the bonus point for the lap led.
Absolutely, John, and that's one thing we haven't really mentioned a whole lot. This is the first race of the ECR season. This is the ECR Daytona 500, equivalent to the real-life Daytona 500. These guys want to go. They want that win. This is their World Series. This is their Super Bowl. They want to get that trophy tonight.
And obviously with ECR's Fantasy Funds payout system that they run here, those payouts are huge for first place compared to any other race. I mean, these guys are going to bank some money for finishing up in the field, and that can obviously go to bettering your team, bettering your teammates around you, and stuff like that. So fielding more cars, more races. So these guys have to win. They know they have to win this race. They want to win this race. I mean, this is the big one. It might be on iRacing, it might be virtual, but these guys have practiced. They've built setups. These are open setups. These aren't fixed. These guys have worked quite hard on making this work.
And it seems we got one huge pack of 26 cars, and then Aaron Vincent is almost a half a lap down already in his number 49 Lowe's Chevrolet SS. He's all by himself off down the backstretch right now as the lead pack enters turn 1.
And apologies for that bit of a technical issue there. Had to fix something in the broadcast front. But we're back live racing here at Daytona. Jeff Hamilton still in the lead. Nick Groth behind him. 63 of Paul Zada, Thomas Lattimore, and the 37 of Sean Medley in your single file top 5 right now.
And John, we mentioned it's Daytona. Anything can happen. I think league owner Anthony Fitchner said that. You're going to see guys. You're going to see guys up front tonight that you're not going to see a whole lot. They don't have the experience. They don't have the fast setups that some of these bigger teams do. And Daytona's an equalizer, as are Talladega and even road courses or short tracks. These things are all equalizers, and can really make or break someone's season with a win, bringing you into the chase.
Yeah, I mean, this being an open setup, obviously those big 4-car teams with the experienced drivers, such as Apocalypse Motorsports, have the onset of an advantage. With having setups already made, they're able to work with each other and build setups. Then you get down to some of the smaller teams that maybe are some guys newer to iRacing or maybe don't have as many teammates to work with. And those guys are going to have a little bit of a harder time getting these setups perfect, whereas, teams like we said, Apocalypse are going to come out here every week with almost pro-level setups, and in some cases probably pro-level setups. So this is a race that these guys know that they have to run well in if they want to compete for championship points, if they want to, get the best finish they can, and then, also money. It takes money to fund these teams and to race these cars. So getting up front, leading laps here, running well, finishing well is important to these guys.
Absolutely. And imagine what it would be if Nick Groth and Paul Zada Even Wayne Willard or Tom Clayton or Ryan Kercheval. What if one of these guys comes away with a victory tonight? They get that big paycheck, they get the win that propels them into the chase, and they get a win that propels them the rest of the season. They get that confidence boost. And how great would it be to see that one of those underdogs pull off a victory tonight?
It's always fun coming to Daytona. You always seem to have the underdog stories, as we see Chuck Harrell on a line back to the back. There goes another car. You always have the underdog feel-good stories of the week or of the speed weeks or whatever, where guys run up front that aren't ever up front. Maybe guys that don't even race full seasons, guys that run 10, 15 races a year, and they run up front here, and they get a top 10, and it gives them the money they need to maybe run an extra 2 or 3 races that year to get more paychecks, and it kind of snowballs from there. And we see that here. Some teams that aren't maybe going to be able to grid a car every week can come out here and they can run and then get a finish, and all of a sudden it opens up their season, and then they can run for a championship.
Absolutely, John. And you mentioned up there Chuck Harrell trying to go to the outside. That's nothing new to him. We were broadcasting on MOTV last Tuesday night in the dual race. He was the one driver that constantly was trying to make that outside work. That's no surprise to see him try to jump to the outside.
Also got Joel Hamilton behind him in the 55 Chevrolet SS jumping to the outside. Maybe going to fall in line and maybe get an outside line formed here. It takes a little bit of work, maybe not quite as much as in the Cup Series with the real draft and stuff like that, but it does take a little bit of work here to form up an outside line or an inside line or whatever it may be, and get these cars to run well. It takes 5, 6, 7 cars, and you can start making your way to the front.
It looks like Paul Zada and Thomas Ledmore, those guys, it looks like they kind of want to go. I mean, they're trying to stick their nose out. You can't really tell if they want to go. Maybe the communication's off a little bit right there, but they definitely want to get by these guys. They want to get to the front.
And communicating a run at Daytona with another person who's not in direct communication with you. I mean, obviously these guys have the iRacing server, they have TeamSpeak, but not being able to communicate your every thought and move to the guy you're working with, and then making a run is extremely difficult. We'll see that all night long, I think, where guys go to pull out a line, and maybe the guy in the back will pull out, and the front guy will come up too late, or the guy in the front will come up, and the back won't get the message. So a little bit of a broken run here. It looks like they want to make a run, timed perfectly the 63 and the 03 to the outside.
I don't think they're going to be able to make it work right there, John. They're going to have to do it right on the exit of the corner. I don't think if they get that run on entry, the bottom line is just going to pull away in the middle of the turn. I think they really have. They want to get that run. They're going to have to go to the outside, right out the corner exit.
You know what's so hard about these cars that we didn't see in the Xfinity Series last night is these cars are so aero-fragile, I guess would be the best way to put it. I mean, the Xfinity Series cars, they run 10 to got contact. Sean Medling's going to lose it.
Spinning. Hard into the outside wall. It's a big wreck. A lot of cars involved
Anthony
in that one.
Thitchner's in it. Wayne Willard's in it.
Oh, wow,
94 of Gilas gets in it.
They're still piling up.
00 of Mark Figueroa, another pre-race interviewer, is going to be in that one. Sean Medling just snapping loose at the wrong time. We'll go back and take a look at this.
Oh, he had help from the outside of Paul Zada. Wow. It looks like Paul Zada may have gotten loose on the outside and came right down into Sean Medling.
Taking a look back here. They're running okay here, side by side drafting a little bit. And then almost look maybe like a little bit of net code. And then from there, I mean, Wayne Willard did a great job of staying out of it. He just got hooked at the end. Anthony Thitchner nowhere to go. Looks like
Joel
88 of Chuck
Hamilton,
Harrell. Joel Hamilton's going to be in
Josh
it.
Mayu, Troy Latart, Matthew George,
Yep,
Mark
42 is gonna
Figueroa.
pile in there. That is a
10 to
huge
12
wreck.
cars right there.
Huge wreck here in the early laps of Daytona.
It looks like even last night's winner, Kevin Cook, looks like he got some front end damage as Sean Medling was spinning around. Some major front end damage to Kevin Cook's machine. And just so many good cars. Wayne Willard, Sean Medling, Mark Figueroa, Aaron Vincent. And Aaron Vincent may have gotten through that because he was so far off the pack right there. But a lot of good cars that John taken out in that.
And that's where we talk about, Colin, where running in the back of the pack is safe in a sense, but then when something like that happens and it bottlenecks so quick, I mean, some wrecks here are avoidable. The car will spin and it'll catch 1, 2, but when the car comes back up the track and cars scatter and then they're spinning down the track as well as up the track, I mean, when you're back there, you can't slow the car down fast enough. As we've got pit stops here, it looks like third place on back is going to come on down. But you just can't stop the car fast enough, and you can't help but just pile in.
Absolutely. And I believe Paul Zada will probably receive the EOL on that one right there. You see 3 cars stay out. It's Jeff Hamilton, Nick Groth, and Joey Lamb. But John, the term unfortunate is going to come up again. You know it is. But how unfortunate is it for those guys that were hanging out in the back? You know, those Nick Gileses, those Joel Hamiltons, Anthony Fitchners, you know, Josh Mayhews. You know, all these guys that are hanging out in the back, and their days are ruined.
And you hate to see it because you feel a sense of security back there where you feel like if a wreck happens, I can see it, I can stop. And then that happens, and you kind of lose your trust, I think, in not only, you know, obviously, you know, this race, but in your racecraft in general, because it kind of takes your confidence away when you get that sense of security and then you lose it like that. When you pile into a wreck, when you think you were able to avoid it, or even like Wayne Willard, who was through it effectively and then got clipped. So, you know, these guys, obviously their nights are torn up, you know, their car's torn up tonight, but it'll be interesting to see going into Atlanta next week how they race maybe differently, more aggressive, less aggressive, coming off this wreck. I mean, this is a big one here. That took out 5, 6, 7 cars. I know Wayne Willard's night's done. Sean Medling's night's probably done. Some cars are going to be able to keep going.
Absolutely, John. It's like I said, it's just so unfortunate. I mean, obviously, you get that chain reaction type thing where not everybody can see the wreck, not everybody can slow down as quick as some of the guys who are closer to the wreck can, and they rear end. I think. I mean, it's not. It's a fact of the matter is where 9 to 10 guys just got taken out because of one person's mistake. And that's what this type of racing brews.
Yeah, you summed up Daytona pretty much in a nutshell there. 9 to 10 guys get taken out because of one guy's mistake. We see it in real life all the time. We see it on iRacing all the time. One guy in you know, 3rd or 4th position makes the slightest mistake, not even a big mistake like we saw there. I mean, that certainly wasn't.
It looks like he just got loose.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of net code, or he just got loose, or he caught the apron, or whatever may have happened. Just a slight, you know, error in judgment, and 9 guys' nights are effectively ruined. And that's Daytona in a nutshell, I think. But with that thought, we're going to take a quick commercial break, our first one of the season. Again, we'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you, ECR, for putting on this great race, and iRacing for hosting it. So we'll be back in just a few minutes, guys. Alrighty, guys, welcome back here to Daytona International Speedway after that unfortunate incident. I think would be the best word to sum it up. 9 or 10 guys out of the race. We haven't got an exact body count for you guys yet with what cars are all tore up in that. We know Sean Medling obviously involved, Anthony Fitcher involved, Kevin Cook was involved in that. Very likely he's still running. The 50 of Matthew George was caught up in that. 00 of Mark Figueroa was involved. The 88 of Chuck Harrell got some damage. A lot of good cars gone effectively. I mean, like we said, some of these guys we would have continued, but it's such an aerodynamically sensitive track that, I mean, even a little bit of damage like Kevin Cook, if you can stay in the draft, I think you're okay. I know someone in our chat's been talking about Kevin Cook. If he can stay in the draft, I think he'll be okay. It's just a matter of staying in the draft, and that can be difficult with the damaged front end. Going to give you a quick rundown here of your top 10. In first place, Jeff Hamilton. He's led pretty much all night, except for the first lap. Surprisingly, starting on the pole. Wayne Willard is able to steal the first lap. I believe he's led since then. In second on the outside row, Nick Groff. Joey Lamb is going to be in third. Ron Miller, who made an early run at the lead, in fourth. Thomas Lattimore, who also made an early run at the lead and wasn't successful, back in fifth. AJ Scarborough in sixth. The 48 car, George Price. So I want to give a quick shout out to, who's been an amazing help to the stream. Everything you guys see on the stream, the ticker, the overlays, the driver overlays, that was all George and Aaron and those guys. So a huge shout out to George for the help. But in P8, 45 of Kevin Cook, who got some damage in that wreck. In ninth, Ryan Kirchfall in the number 38. And rounding out your top 10, the number 7 car of Charles Silver. So to get ready to go green here, guys, we're going to have 103 laps to go on the restart. Still a huge amount of time left to get this thing, sorted out. Obviously, Jeff Hamilton appears to be dominant early on here. But still, plenty of time to get it sorted out, plenty of time to figure out who your winner is going to be tonight.
Absolutely, John. And we only have 17 cars left on that lead lap. From a field that started out with almost 30, that is heartbreaking for these guys that put so much work in. But that's Daytona. That's the only way you can say it, is that's Daytona.
And it certainly is a great way to sum it up. You see the long line of cars on the inside as we go green here. Those are the cars that were obviously on and off pit road repairing damage. A lot of banged up front ends. It's Jeff Hamilton on the early jump. Nick Groth going to slot in third here, obviously. Now we're going to see the battle to get back to the inside line after the double file restart.
And look at those, John. I think these guys realize that they're going too quick. I think they realize that being on the outside line could be very dangerous. And I think you can see a lot. I think you can see a lot of single filer driving here for at least the first part of this run.
And I think this is the time we talked about in the pre-race show where after the first caution, maybe guys simmer down a little bit. The racing wasn't too violent, I guess would be the best word. Before that, I mean, there were some moves here and there. As you see the 88 of Chuck Carroll move high to let the field by. But I think it calms down even more now. I think guys, as I said, lose that sense of security they had where they thought, oh, maybe we'll be okay. And now after that big wreck, guys maybe thinking different as you see strung out a little bit more than they were before, still single file, but certainly some bigger gaps between these cars. And
yeah, John, go ahead.
I was going to say, certainly not only the drivers upset about this. I mean, I don't know if you can hear it in our voices, but the tone of our voices have completely changed. We hate seeing incidents like that, especially early on. I mean, these guys, it's hard to sum up the amount of work that goes into a virtual race for no money. I mean, these guys practice and practice and practice, and I know they've been racing for the last 2 weeks practicing. They've been building setups, they've been working, and then for something like that to happen, it's just so unfortunate, I guess would be the word, that it breaks your heart to see. I mean, it's obviously nowhere comparable as you see essentially a Gen 6 modified rolling off pit road. Now I don't know exactly the number on that, but it's hard to compare it to obviously real life where they spend months and months working on these cars and hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I mean, these guys have jobs and families and lives outside of this, and to take their free time that they do have and put it into building these cars, you hate to see them tore up.
Absolutely, John. Like I said, it's heartbreaking to see some of these guys. I mean, some of the fastest cars all week long. Anthony Fitchner, Wayne Willard. Wayne Willard won one of the duels the other night. Chuck Harrell's been fast. He's been able to make that outside work all by himself. Mark Figueroa, we talked to him. He was fast. Nick Gillis, Joel Hamilton, Matthew George. I mean, half of GBR just got taken out in that wreck. Half of Haters Make Us Famous, 3/4 of Haters Make Us Famous got taken out in that. It's just so heartbreaking to see some of these guys work their rear ends off and to have all of it just go away like that.
And giving you a look down the list here, you can see the 88 of Chuck Harrell has retired from the event, the 87 of Anthony Fitchner has retired from the event, the 01 of Wayne Willard as well has retired from the event. The names at the bottom there are admins and broadcasters as more retires pop up here. It's just terribly unfortunate for these guys that have worked all off-season. 00 Mark Figueroa rolling up on top of the track there. No front end left on that car. As we said, though, still a lot to drive for these guys that were hurt. Obviously, points on the line, money on the line for DNFing costs money in this league, fantasy funds. So these guys have, they still have stuff to drive for. If they have a motor, they should be on the track, and they're showing there, as you can see, the 00 badly torn up, but still out there riding around.
Absolutely, Johnny. We mentioned Kevin Cook got slightly involved in that. He's been able to stay in this draft with a car in front of him and a car behind him. So I don't think he's fallen off that too much right there.
The thing that worries me the most about a driver like Kevin Cook that has that slight front end damage is once they try to make a move, or if at any point during the night they find themselves stuck on the outside, if they fall to the back, I don't think they can keep the tail end of the draft without help from behind. I think that's where the struggle is going to be with a damaged front end like that, especially in these Gen 6s. I mean, it's hard enough to hold the draft from the tail end without damage, but I think once you lose that pocket of air behind you as well, I think it can be extremely challenging. So as long as he stays in line and in draft, I think he'll be okay. He might, he's in 9th, might salvage a top 10, even a top 5. But he certainly has to be extra careful now with every move he makes.
And John, I just mentioned the big names that got taken out in that big wreck right there we had on lap 14. But a lot of the underdogs got through it. Nick Groff, Joey Lamb, Ryan Kercheval, Charles Silver, Tom Clayton, Aaron Vincent, Luis Salmazo. These guys got through it. The underdogs have the advantage right now to see if they can knock off one of these big-name drivers like Jeff Hamilton or AJ Scarborough, or Justin Bland, one of these big-name guys that have the equipment.
And you see it all the time in real life. Guys that maybe don't have the horsepower to hang with the front pack actually becomes a bit of a blessing because they're able to avoid these wrecks. Some of these guys that maybe want to hang out back, don't think they can necessarily get up there and run and lead, got through it just because of the simple fact, maybe minus Nick Groth, that they were hanging out in the back. Nick Groth was one of the drivers, I think, that was ahead of that wreck, luckily. But some of these guys getting through it by sheer luck, some of these guys by strategy, and some of these guys maybe using the lack of horsepower to their advantage.
Absolutely. And we have to mention, we have to point out, Jeff Hamilton, Joey Lamb, and Nick Groth, the top three right now, did not pit under that last yellow flag, which makes it, definitely a two-stop race. I think they can make it now with the yellow flag, maybe with the exception of Jeff Hamilton since he's been out front for so long. But those guys that did pit, they have to make two stops work for 105 laps. They're going to be able to take less fuel on those and make quicker pit stops out of it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Daytona, if it runs green from here, I think it's a pretty cut and dry fuel strategy. But with that caution falling when it did, and some guys pitting and some guys not, as you mentioned, Jeff Hamilton being the one, I think, in the worst position, being in the lead. We talked about how weird that is at Daytona. I think it can get interesting really quick depending on when cautions fall. Obviously, guys able to stretch when other guys have to pit, and then a caution falls in the middle of that, and then they get into their pits and better positions with different fuel mileage, and it can get really complicated and really hairy really quick. Right now, I think we're still looking. Everyone still has to obviously make 2 more stops from here, but I think it'll be interesting to see if cautions do fall in between, where those stops come, and then obviously to the end, how many guys think they can stretch it and how many guys can't.
Absolutely, John. And we mentioned the rundown of the leaders going down through under yellow, coming to the green flag. It really hasn't switched that much. We have 17 guys left on the lead lap from the wreck that we had. Those 17 guys are all involved in this single file follow the leader game that everyone's playing right now. All 17 are here. From Jeff Hamilton all the way back to Paul Zava in 17th. All of these guys are here right now.
Which is actually great to see, because the last thing you want to see is have a wreck like that and you think you have 17 cars in the lead lap and then 4 of them fall off and you've only got 13. So it's good to see that all these guys sticking with the draft here, they're all hanging on, damage, no damage, whatever it may be. Playing follow the leader, we see that a lot. Obviously, only 17 cars left in the lead lap. Not a whole lot of a pack to make if you were going to make one. So I think it's good to see that these guys have calmed down. There's a lot of gaps between these cars as you watch here from the Goodyear blimp. A lot of gaps between them. There's, a lot of safe room there if these guys do touch the apron, if they do get loose. They have some room to check up and avoid as they come up on a slower car here. So I think it's good to see. I think they've calmed down. We might get a good green flag run in here. Maybe see some green flag pit stops and see how the fuel works.
Absolutely, John. You can see from the Goodyear blimp there, off turn 2 there, Joey Lamb lift kind of came off the yellow line, and he has to be careful of that right there, because that could easily cause an accident. It may not be him, it may be another driver, 8th, 9th, 10th, somewhere in the pack. But if they drift up like that, that car behind them is gonna want them to take that. They take the spot that they're in. You may not see it right away. It may take a couple times to try it, but eventually one of those drivers is going to try to overtake the driver in front by, like you see right there, Joey Lamb drifting up. He has to be careful because he could easily get turned in that situation.
And it's almost an involuntary slingshot. You hear him talk about slingshots all the time. It almost does it involuntarily, especially when you're 2-3 cars back in line, because that guy lifts up, and so you're able to almost vacuum off his air, and then you're catching the guy's air in front of you as well, so that's helping. So you see him drift up again right there. If he keeps doing that, eventually Nick Groth is going to suck up under his left rear fender, and we could see something bad happen. You see it ever so rarely, I think, in real life. They've pretty much got it down to a science. But here on iRacing, where different variables come into play, and obviously it's not exactly as it is in real life, these guys can wiggle a little bit, and it can cause some problems.
Absolutely, John. You see these guys, it may separate into 2 packs right now. It looks like. I can't really tell. Kevin Cook seems to be the last guy hanging with this front pack, but Charles Silver in the 7, Tom Clayton in the 66, Aaron Vincent in the 49, and Luis Salmazo and a couple other guys are hanging out, and they're kind of forming their own second pack, as it seems. The front group from Jeff Hamilton up to Kevin Cook in 9th place has seemed to separate themselves from the rest of the field.
You know, I'm taking a really good close look, you guys are seeing on the broadcast here, at that 7 of Charles Silver, and I don't see any damage on his car at all. I mean, maybe it's my iRacing climb, but I don't see any damage, and that makes me think this is a strategy play. He doesn't want to be up there. Maybe he sees something we're not seeing, and he doesn't like the way they're bobbing and weaving and cutting each other off, so he's going to drop back as you see them past the 55 of Joel Hamilton slow on the outside. And maybe form a second pack with some of these guys and wait it out and ride, and not want to get up there and get his nose dirty when he doesn't have to.
Absolutely, and that's one thing, like you said, mentioned there, maybe he sees something we don't. Maybe he notices Joey Land coming up off that bottom line, or maybe someone else coming off the bottom line, or something completely different. Who knows? He could see something we don't, and he doesn't want to be anywhere near it.
And these guys in the front certainly getting a lot closer. We talked a few laps ago about how they were starting to spread out a little bit, how they were getting a few car lengths gaps between each other on the straightaways, and now you see the 81 close right up behind Jeff Hamilton, and they're starting to accordion up a little bit. And maybe the 7 seeing that, maybe the accordion effect we saw last night in the Xfinity Series caused a few incidents where, you know, maybe one guy checks up, the other guy doesn't, then he has to check up too much, and next thing you know, you've got a wreck 15 cars back. So Charles Silver maybe seeing that, maybe doesn't like what he's feeling out there in terms of having to maybe drag the brake more than he likes, and just getting off and letting these guys race out of that front.
Absolutely, John. And for those viewers who are, you know, maybe new to iRacing and maybe new to racing in general, the accordion effect, what that means is that second car in line behind the leader doesn't want to go full throttle because the car will overheat and eventually blow up. So what they're trying to do is get some air, which they're slowing their car down. What that does is it slows third, fourth, fifth, and so on cars down, which makes them all stack up, and eventually, you know, the 8th or 9th car in line is going to rear end the guy and cause a problem.
And it's the same thing you see on the highway in everyday life. If you're coming home at rush hour and a guy 20 cars ahead of you slows down 5 miles an hour, the guy behind him slows down 7, and then it's 10, and then it's 15, and by the time it gets to you, you might be almost stopped on the highway. And you can imagine that, but at 200 miles an hour without street cars. I mean, these cars don't stop on a dime, certainly not like a street car would, not at 200 miles an hour at least. So, I mean, these guys don't really have anywhere to go when that happens. I mean, it eventually gets to the point where the speed reduction is so drastic that you can't stop in time. Much as you see on the highway in a winter condition where you just can't stop. You slide into someone and you cause accidents. So that's what we mean when we mean accordion effect. We mean that these cars are stacking up like an accordion. Eventually someone has to pay the price, and it's usually someone, like we said at Daytona, that has absolutely nothing to do with the original incident. So 42 of Chris Circo, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. Apologies if I butchered that. Slow on the top there. He was caught in that early wreck there. So we're seeing these guys put some cars a lap down, caught up in that wreck. As we said, still pretty much everyone hanging with the lead draft. Charles Silver leading that second pack around, Jeff Hamilton leading your first pack and the race. He's led all, I believe, but 1 lap tonight. But they are, probably, for Jeff Hamilton, about 6 laps away from doing this like pit stops. For everyone else, they might be able to make another 8 or 10.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that they got to be careful about. Jeff Hamilton has to keep an eye on that because he's going to have to pit. Whether he's been trying to save fuel or not, he's going to have to pit before Joey Lamb and Nick Roth, and obviously before Thomas Lattimore, AJ Scarborough, and the rest of those guys who pitted under the yellow flag. So he's going to have to, you know, communicate with maybe Joey Lamb or Nick Roth and just be like, hey guys, you know, I need to pit here. You guys want to pit with me? Or something like that, to where he's not hung out to dry, because being by yourself at Daytona, it's a lonely world.
And I honestly think up front, I mean, those front 3, as we see, I believe it's AJ Scarborough having some connection issues there. I think the front 3 pretty much have to pit together. I think it's smart if they coordinate, because even if Jeff Hamilton pits and they don't, and then they pit together, I mean, that's only 2 cars, and as we know, 2-car pushing at Daytona in the Gen 6 with the amount of tape these guys run, you're going to go pretty slow with the amount of times you're going to have to switch and air it and stuff. So I think they're smart if they all pit at once. Obviously, I don't know what's going on in their team speak and their communications. I don't know if they're thinking of that or if they're all different fuel strategies, but they're the only 3 that are on that fuel stop strategy where they're going to have to pit probably 10 to 15 laps before everybody else. So I think it would be smart for them to bring it down. I don't know if they will, but I think it would be smart. I also like to take this time to welcome any new viewers to the stream. We run this every Tuesday night, 9:30 Eastern Time. We go live just a little before the race. It's when the green flag drops, 9:30. If you guys want to hit that follow button, you can follow us on Twitter as well at ECR_league and moist_online for all your information regarding the league and its goings on. So I'd like to welcome anyone on the stream and say thank you for coming out today.
You know, John, we've really seen that front pack really opening it up over the the last group there. We get the first group full of 9 cars and the second group full of 8 cars. I mean, these guys have really split right down the middle as best as they can. And that second group, they got to be careful because they have just as many guys as the front group. I mean, we mentioned the accordion effect or someone drifting off the yellow line. That could definitely cause problems in that pack just as well as the front.
Another thing the backpack has to worry about, looking at these cars from the blimp, a few of them have damage. I know the 12 right there has got some pretty significant just flat front end damage. But a few of these guys throughout the pack have damage. You see them weaving, kind of wiggling 2 and 3 wide sometimes back through there. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, that's kind of, I think, a more volatile pack than the front. Obviously, with those guys coming to pit road soon, that might get a little hinky. But I think this pack is one to watch for. Maybe the next yellow coming out of here. I mean, these guys could always have issues, someone not checking up when they should. So I think it'll be fun to watch. Obviously, you have to keep an eye on the front pack. That's where your leaders are, or where they're running. But this backpack could bring some drama in the coming lap.
Let's even get a rundown for our viewers out there, John. Jeff Hamilton and Joy Lamb, Nick Groff, the two of those guys have been out front all night long. They stayed out under that yellow flag and were able to get down to the bottom, and nobody's really been trying to make a move on them. So those top 3 are still the top 3, I should say. Jeff Hamilton, Joy Lamb, and Nick Groff are the top 3. Thomas Lattimore and AJ Scarborough are 4th and 5th, respectively. Those guys have the 4 fresh tires. They have enough fuel to go, 15 laps farther than the front 3. Those guys are 4th and 5th, and when those top 3 pit, will get the lead. Ron Miller's in 6th. George Price, you mentioned him, John. He's been a big help to the broadcast and everything that MOTV and ECR have done for broadcasting purposes. He's in 7th. Ryan Kercheval, one of the underdogs we mentioned, he's in 8th. And rounding out the last car in this front pack, Kevin Cook, he's won last night's Xfinity Series race here at Daytona from basically about that same position. So you got to watch for him, and I'll let you take it up for the second group.
Yeah, you can see the big split in the times there. Kevin Cook about a second behind the leader, and then you got all the way back to the second pack here with Tom Clayton in the 66 car being in P10. After him, you've got the 49 of Aaron Vincent in 11th, 12 of Rob Burns in 12th. Look at that. 65 of Justin Bland in 13th, 72 of Luis Salzmo in 14th. The 7 of Charles Silver, who was leading this pack, but's now falling back maybe on a fuel-saving strategy in 15th. So that's your top 15. As we said, some of those guys might have a little bit of damage. Not exactly sure on the extent of all their damage, but Troy Latart and Paul Zotto going to run out your top 17 and all the cars on the lead lap. You see Matthew George there being the car in the Lucky Dog, 1 lap down in that 50 in 18th position.
And one thing I'm really watching, John, is Thomas Lattimore seems to be testing when he can make that move. And I know that's something you can practice in speed weeks and in the practices leading up to the event. There's really nothing you can do. I mean, right there you see him jump to the outside of Nick Roth. Maybe he's testing when he can make that race-winning move, because it's definitely something a driver has to practice before he does it.
And if you're going to practice it, now's the time. I mean, these guys, you can't wait. I mean, you see in real life, sometimes guys wait and they get out of line and stuff like that. But you've got to practice, especially now when you know these guys have to pit. If you do get shuffled, you're only going a few spots back. You may as well practice, maybe in talks with AJ Scarborough, maybe even in talks with Nick Groff coming down to the end of the race. You've got to make friends early, and then obviously if those fall through, you make new friends throughout the race. But you've got to make your friends and make your enemies early, I think, and who you're going to work with and who you're not going to work with, and decide all that, so that when it comes down to the end of the race, if everything plays out, those guys are around you, you'll get yourself W.
Absolutely, John. And so from right now, we have 3 drivers retired from tonight's event. It looks like we have Wayne Willard, Josh Mayu, and Chuck Carroll all retired from tonight's event. I think Sean Medling's still in the garage area. He may come back out. But as of right now, Wayne Willard, Josh Mayu, and Chuck Carroll are all retired from tonight's event.
And you hate to see that early on, but it's a long season. It's only week 1. You've got 35 more to go after this. Certainly a lot of different things that can happen with virtual racing that you don't see in the real world. Guys can have technology issues, they can have internet issues. So I don't think really until we get to the very end of this long season, I think and no one's really out of it. I mean, you can obviously have a guy running away with the points, which is, and now coming to pit road now, the 4, the 81, and the 19 all break off at once, as well as the 5 of AJ Scarborough. The 4 awfully fast. AJ's in the grass.
AJ Scarborough in the grass.
I'd hate to see that 4 get a speeding penalty. That would certainly be a hard end to his run here at the lead. The 81 has to check up to avoid the 19 coming to pit road. You see the 87 there getting work done, 37 on pit road. But the 5 and the 19 coming in, interesting to see. We might have a speeding penalty on that 4. He certainly looked awfully fast coming to the entrance to pit road.
Oh, absolutely, John. He was going well over the speed limit, maybe 40 miles over the speed limit. So he's definitely going to have that pass or the 15-second penalty. I'm assuming 15 seconds. The ECR officials will hold him. I believe the 81 and the 19 both got down to pit road speed, and what a tough break for AJ Scarborough, going through the grass there, losing all that time, and not even be able to make a stop. He's on pit road now, but he's definitely going to have a black flag, maybe a pass through or something. But just an unfortunate circumstance for the 5.
Might have been a stop and hold there. I saw the 4, the 19, and the 5 all were on pit road. It seemed like an awfully long time. I mean, obviously no damage on the 4 and the 19. They've been out front all race, so I'm not sure what that was. Now they have to make that long turn around the apron here of turns 1 and 2 until they get back up to speed. AJ Scarborough, I'm sure, is also going to get black flagged. I mean, obviously you can't exit the pit, slide into the grass, then re-enter, but unfortunate turn of events for those front runners there. Getting to pit road here is a lot harder than it looks, especially when you're trying to do an undergreen, slowing the car from 200 down to that 60-mile-an-hour pit road limit safely with the brake bias these cars run. Can be difficult. We saw it there. Going to cost these guys dearly, I think.
Absolutely, John. You see Joey Lamb right there going a lap down. But when this has happened, we got a new leader, Thomas Lattimore. He's in the 0-3. He's in the new leader. Ron Miller in second, and George Price in third. All Ford Fusion top 3 right now.
And that was one of the front runners early on in the race. You saw Ron Miller push Wayne Willard to actually lead the first lap of the event before falling back, and then obviously Wayne get caught up in that lap. I believe it was 13 or 14 crash. But now you see Ron back on the bumper of the leader here on the 3, pushing, and you got the 48 right behind him of George Price.
You see Joey Lamb, Nick Groth. I'm not sure if Nick Groth got a speeding penalty as well, but him and Jeff Hamilton, excuse me, not Joey Lamb, Jeff Hamilton and Nick Groth have found each other on the backstretch, both 1 lap down right now, 15th and 16th respectively.
And this is why we talk about throughout the race, no one's really ever out of it, because you saw there, I mean, Jeff Hamilton seemed to have this one pretty much well in hand. He led every lap except the first one. He was driving away. No one was trying to pass him. Nick Groth was on his bumper, or Joey Lamb, excuse me, and then Nick Groth. So, and then just like that, you know, penalties and mistakes on pit road, and now you're towards the back of the pack, and maybe more to follow. I'm not sure the extent of those penalties. So you can see how quickly something can turn at Daytona. I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be a wreck. It can be anything from getting on pit road to running out of fuel to just a mental mistake.
Absolutely, this is great. I mean, I shouldn't say it's great. This works out better for these guys that pitted under that last yellow flag, and you got to think that maybe some of these guys are regretting, you know, Jeff Hamilton, Nick Groth, and Joey. Maybe if they're regretting, you know, not pitting under that last yellow. But if pit stops cycle through here, obviously they're not going to be up to where they were due to the 15-second penalty for speeding on pit road, unless someone else makes a mistake. But we got Ron Miller loose. What a save by the 78 right there. Good save from P2. But these guys that have pitted, barring any problems on pit road, are going to be definitely in better shape.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to me they didn't pit. I mean, obviously you want to stay out front. Track position to Daytona is key when you want to be out front. But that many laps into a fuel run, I mean, about a third of the way through the fuel run. And we know the tires wear here quite a bit. We've seen it in the NIS race last week and throughout different, you know, hosted sessions and stuff. We've seen the tires actually wear a considerable amount. So it was funny to me they didn't pit. I would think they'd bring it down there. I mean, there's not too many spots to lose. There were damaged cars. They would have been out even if they were the only ones to pit, I think, in like 12th or 13th. And they had fast cars. So it's one of those things where you have a fast car and you have the race, you know, well in hand. Why gamble? I mean, there's not a whole lot of reason to gamble there. So maybe they're working a fuel strategy. I don't know. But those penalties certainly going to hurt them in the long run.
Absolutely, John. And like you said, it's definitely going to hurt them. But if these guys pit up here, they're going to be on the lead lap. They're going to get that lap back. And then, who knows, if a caution comes out, everything changes. You could be in 15th place, 20 seconds behind the pack, have a caution come out, restart 15th, and be in the lead in 3 laps. Daytona is that type of track, as is Talladega. So it's something weird. I mean, this track, this type of racing always comes around to bite people in the rear end if they make mistakes. But in the end, it could work out perfectly.
And I would like to point out that all those drivers that had the mistake on pit road are 1 lap down. I believe AJ Scarborough just won his 2nd lap down. So it's going to be hard for them to dig out Nick Groff. I believe Joey Lamb now, I think, is showing the lucky dog spot in the 12th position. So it's going to be hard for them to dig out. That's a rough spot to dig out a lap down on the super speedway. It's hard to go out and get your lap back through strategy. You don't usually go a lap down pitting here. So it's going to be hard to go out there and get your lap back. Those guys in a bit of a pigeonhole. You see the 48 get loose and touch the apron a little bit.
And you got to think, John, these guys up here that did pit under that last yellow, they're going to be coming to pit road shortly. They're coming to lap 51 right now. They pitted on lap 15 of 120. As this time by, we have 70 laps to go, but they got to pit some here time soon.
Yeah, you would think coming up here not too much longer, especially like you said, Thomas Lattimore now is inherited the lead. He's running with that full amount of the Air Force on his nose. Using more fuel, obviously, without the draft, full throttling all the way around. So he'll have to come to pit road, I think, before these guys. But as we saw, you're probably going to want to come with people. You don't want to be that last one or the second to last one to stop. You don't want to miss the group, because once you miss the group, it's going to cost you, especially if we continue to go green, which this race has a very green flag feel to it right now. These guys not really racing that hard. They're kind of single file. We've got 2 smaller packs going on. Kind of feel like the duels all over again, to be honest, which we know those were fairly tame for qualifying races. So might run green here for a little bit, might run through almost 2 cycles, and then watch things get testy towards the end. You can see the 3 of Thomas Lattimore slid up a little bit on corner exit. I was talking earlier about how those tires wear. Where they hurt you the most here, surprisingly, I think is on corner exit. Most tracks, as the right front burns and stuff like that, they kind of hurt you more on corner entry. Here, it seems like the left front is the one that just melts on this track, and I'm not sure if it's something with iRacing's tire model or if it's, just how the setups are built, but the left front tire seems to go away so quick here, and it seems to really hurt you the most on corner exit. It's hard to keep the car down and in line, especially even through the middle of the corner. So watching the 3 race here, he's pushing up a little bit on corner exit. I'm not sure if that's intentional. We've been watching guys kind of bob and weave in the middle of the corner. So watching that as we go forward could get kind of fun if we get side by side.
Oh, no doubt, John. And like you said, the tire wear is a big factor. I know you and I had both problems with it in the NIS race. Obviously, in the NIS is a fixed race. You don't get to work on your setups. Here, you get to work on your setups, which could hurt or help your tire situation. I know a lot of these guys probably don't think about tires. You don't really think about tires when you come to super speedway events. But, I mean, with this situation going through their head, they have to be thinking about it now, or at least their crews do.
And the thing people seem to always forget, myself included for that matter, when it comes to Daytona and Talladega and super speedway racing, is that tires are still tires here. I mean, these guys are still running, even with the banking, they're still running 200, sometimes up to excess of 202 miles an hour into these corners, and that's putting wear on the tires. I believe it was Dale Jr. once said, in response to a tweet on Twitter, someone asked him what would happen if he took the restrictor plates off. He was a fan of that, in excess of 230 mile an hour speeds without the restrictor plates, and he simply replied that the tires would blow in turn 1 because they just couldn't handle it. People seem to forget that these are still Goodyear Racing Eagles on these cars. These aren't any kind of super tire, obviously made for super speedway racing, but they still wear with these insane speeds these guys are on.
Absolutely, Johnny. I've noticed one thing right here. AJ Scarborough seems to have latched on to this front pack, as well as Joey Lamb. Both those guys are now 2 laps down, I believe. Joey Lamb only 1 lap down now. But both those guys have latched on to that front pack. So when this front pack pits, they will pit before the rest of the field, or before those 2 have to pit again. AJ Scarborough and Joey Lamb are going to be all out there on their own.
And I think it's important that they stay together because, as you said, they're obviously not going to pit when these guys pit. That would be just a waste of a pit stop, as they are pitting right now.
Right oh, we got contact with George Price.
George Price going to have to duck it hard to pit road here.
Wow, Thomas Lattimore did an amazing job.
Amazing job by all those guys. That wasn't the prettiest or most coordinated of the pit stops there, but they all made it work. I think they all got away scot-free. Focus on what was your leader, Thomas Lattimore, hitting his pit box here.
One thing you got to watch for is if that second pack stays out, and they don't, everybody on pit road now. You don't see anybody going down.
Pack. The 50's in. Excuse me, that's a 38 of Ryan Kirchhoff. And apologies.
And Joey Lamb got the lead lap. Is back on the lead lap.
I'm fairly certain I'm mispronouncing your name, or his name, excuse me. I know there's someone in chat that continues to correct me. If I tried to pronounce it the way that they were saying, I think I'd butcher it even more. So we're going to stick with Ryan Kirchhoff for this race. We'll speak to him after and figure out a better pronunciation. But apologies for destroying your name, Ryan. I don't mean to, I promise.
In the race off pit road, it looks like Ron Miller may have just gotten the lead. Thomas Lattimore second, and Kevin Cook out third.
And that's the advantage. Ryan Miller was actually one box, I believe, ahead of Thomas Lattimore on pit road. So he's able to maybe get out ahead of him. Once you're out, behind the guy, you really don't have much of a choice on these flat aprons but to fall in behind him. So Thomas Lattimore to second place now. Ron Miller, your new leader here at Daytona. Again, if you guys are new to the stream, go ahead and click that follow button. We're live every Tuesday night, 9:30 Eastern Time. The green flag drops. We're live just a little bit before that. You can follow us on Twitter at ECR_league or moist_online. I appreciate it. I got a few new followers tonight. We thank you guys for coming out supporting the stream. We're still fairly new to this, so apologies for any technical bugs you may see, but we appreciate everyone coming out and having a good time with us tonight. We're certainly having a blast up here in the booth. We do apologize for that early incident. We would have liked to have seen all 30 cars stay in the field, but still a great field left. A lot of big names out there running around. Ron Miller, obviously one of the underdog stories out there, leading the race. Thomas Lattimore behind him. That'll be a great battle coming down the stretch. Kevin Cook in third position after being in that wreck, and then you've got George Price hanging on to the tail end of that lead pack. Or I guess pack, maybe not the right word. The lead string of cars. We'll go with that.
Absolutely. The pit stops have really, really widened out these, quote-unquote packs that we did have, those 8 or 9 car fields. The top 4 have now separated themselves. Joey Lamb, remember, he was the one that stayed out, pitted earlier, stayed out under that first yellow flag. Him and AJ Scarborough are both, AJ Scarborough is one lap down. Joey Lamb is on the lead lap. He is trailing just behind that first pack, trying to catch them and get back into sequence with them as well. Ryan Kirchhoff is all by himself back there in his number 38 Chevrolet SS. And then the second pack starts. We got Aaron Vincent starting out, but all the way back to Justin Bland. Paul Zada, Nick Groth, Jeff Hamilton, Luis Salmazo, and Charles Silver, all way off the pace. Not off the pace, I should say, but off the lead packs. 35 seconds back.
A quick shout here. Nick Olson, I believe, brought up in the chat why the 7 and 72 were showing a lap down, or 2 laps down, I believe he said. They are currently on the lead lap, at least that's what it's showing on my my ticker over here. I don't exactly know what happened. Maybe a pit stop strategy. They're hooked up together, so something that happened with both of them, maybe contact on the track that they bring on a caution or something like that. Apologies for missing that. We're not exactly sure what happened, but they are showing, at least for me, on the lead lap, Colin, if you'd like to back that up with some actual iRacing client data.
Absolutely. It just looked like they got off sequence on pit stops. They stuck together all the way through. So I think they pitted a couple laps, I believe, earlier before the leaders did. So they were in a little different sequence than the rest of them.
So thank you, Nick, for pointing that out. Obviously, I keep an eye on the ticker over here. I try to watch as much as I can. It's a little bit challenging to read, so I apologize if I missed something that might happen in the race. You guys see anything out of line or anything weird with the ticker on the top of the screen, or just something on the track that we just plainly miss, or if you're in the client yourself, please call it out. We'd love to touch on it. We'll do as much research as we can. Obviously, if we have to, we'll go up in the main team speak and ask what happened. So thank you for calling that out. You guys are our second set of eyes on this race, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely, John. See if we can run down through the field here. After pit stops, Ron Miller was able to get that quick 4-tire change on his white trash Ford Fusion. Beautiful sponsor by Ron Miller, his number 72 Ford Fusion. He's the leader. Thomas Lattimore in the 03, he's right behind him in the Harley Davidson Ford Fusion. Kevin Cook, the lone Chevy in this lead pack right now. He's in third place in his number 45, trying to go for that weekend sweep here at Daytona. Last night's Xfinity Series winner, and George Price in his number 48, heavily in Ford Fusion. He's in the 4th position.
In the 5th position, Joey Lamb in the number 81. In the 6th position, Ryan Kirchhoff. He's the first car off this lead pack, 6 seconds behind the leader. And then we really fall back to 49 of Aaron Vincent, 66 of Tom Clayton, 12 of Rob Burns, and the 82 of Troy Latard are 17 seconds off the pack. So those guys struggling just a little bit to maintain this front group here, and we'll see throughout the night, maybe through some cautions, they can get themselves back up in this race. We are past halfway. We'd like to give a shout, obviously, again, to everyone coming out to the stream. We do appreciate it. But we've just passed halfway here at Daytona, and see what the second half has to bring. again, just want to give a big shout to Kevin Cook in that number 45. He sustained damage in the first incident. He's hung on to it. He's kept it in the draft. Maybe got that front end repaired a little bit more, and he's hanging in there in third position. We talked about him maybe getting a top 10. He's looking for a podium finish in a post-race interview. Again, if you guys have any questions that you'd like to direct towards our drivers, we do interview the top 3 after every race. Unless there's only 2 cars running, we do interview the top 3 after every race. Obviously, we're at Daytona. But if you guys want to ask any questions to your favorite driver or anyone in particular, go ahead and send them in the chat throughout the race. We'll do our best to catch them. And then we'll ask again, obviously, before the post-race interviews if anyone has any questions.
Absolutely, John. You mentioned Kevin Cook. How about Joey Lamb? With help from AJ Scarborough in that number 5, has caught his way back up into this lead group. Joey Lamb, he's off pit sequence. He's on a different pit sequence. Will have to pit before these guys up here in the lead pack. And how about AJ Scarborough? He's in the lucky dog position now. He's 1 lap behind. Maybe he's up there trying to maybe get the old-fashioned lap back.
You know, and I think these guys at this point pretty much have to grab a caution. If they don't grab a caution, it's going to be a little rough for them to get themselves back up into this race. They're off cycle. They're going to have to make the same amount of stops. So if they can get a lucky caution, they have a few opportunities to get themselves back in this race. As you said, give a shout to Joey Lamb. He stuck with it. He's battled his way all the way back into the top 5 from a lap down. But being off cycles, he pushes up the track a little bit. These guys are going to need that caution, and it's going to have to happen, I think, pretty soon for them to have this strategy work.
Absolutely. And you know that we mentioned Ryan Kirchwall. He's off the back. He doesn't have anybody back there right now with any help. He's squeezed right now wide open between the front pack and the second pack. He's going to probably have to fall in at best behind the pack with Aaron Vincent, Tom Clayton, Justin Bland, Troy Layton, and Rob Burns.
A lot of little packs all over the track. We're doing our best to keep up with the lead pack here, but we do want to take some looks back. You've got this little 3-car tandem here Colin just mentioned, being led, I think, yeah, he said by the 49 of Aaron Vincent. He's pulling these guys along. That's actually 7th and on back. Looks like 7th through about, what is that, 12th back there? Somewhere in there. And then you've got Jeff Hamilton running all alone with Nick Groff. That's actually in 12th. So these two, 12th and 13th, they're running all by themselves. Was your leader, dominated all night long. Jeff Hamilton now running back in 12th position. Not quite the luck Joey Lamb had, but still in this thing. Got the 63 of Paul Zada. He's all by himself. And then you've got the tandem of Charles Silver and Luis Salzmo. These two are running back. The last 2 cars on the lead lap, 36 seconds off the pack in 15th and 16th. So a lot of little breakaways here at Daytona. You don't really ever see this. Paul Zada on the lead lap by himself. That's actually quite rare. I can't remember the last time I've seen a lead lap car by themselves at Daytona. It's been a while.
Absolutely, John. And one thing I've kind of curious about is Nick Groff and Jeff Hamilton. They're those 2 cars you mentioned in 12th and 13th. Both had speeding penalties. Lost touch of the main pack. They're catching the pack with Aaron Vincent leading and Tom Clayton, Justin Bland. That one pack from 7th on to 11th that we mentioned. 12th and 13th, Jeff Hamilton and Nick Groff. Just a 2-car tandem you see a lot in the Nationwide Series, the Xfinity Series and the Clemson World Truck Series. That is working out for them, trying to catch that second pack to have a little extra help.
Your leader, still Ron Miller in that number 78. Thomas Lattimore looking to the outside, maybe cooling the nose a little bit. They've pulled away from Kevin Cook, so maybe Thomas Lattimore starting to push the issue. We're coming up, obviously, past halfway. These guys still going at it quite racy, I'd say, for only being like a 5 or 6 car breakaway here at the front of the pack. As we mentioned, AJ Scarborough, the caboose of this tail, is actually a lap down. So these are your top 5 running nose to tail. Ron Miller back through Joey Lamb. Joey Lamb obviously off pit cycle. He is going to have to make a pit stop before these guys, so he's going to need that quick caution, which I don't see happening. There are a lot of, as we said, little breakaways. Not really the typical caution-filled Daytona-type racing that you see at these tracks, which is good. I mean, we were hoping for a green type of race tonight. Obviously, watching pacing isn't exactly the most fun thing in the world, so we'll have to see after that first caution. These guys have made it to a pit stop. They've strung themselves out, and they're starting to, kind of form the character of this race.
Absolutely, John. And this is some great racing you have here. I mean, it may not be interesting, to some viewers outside of the racing field, but definitely fun. These guys are working their rear ends off, trying to get everything they can. You work in the drafts, trying not to blow the motor up. And these guys are still trying to catch the pack, especially the second pack with Aaron Vincent. Those guys have nothing to win, nothing to gain, but a hell of a lot to lose if they get too racy.
As we see him go by the 2 lap cars of Chris Circo and Mark Figueroa. Again, apologies if I'm mispronouncing Chris's name. We'll have to get with him after the race and find out the pronunciation. Coming up on another lap car. I don't quite see a number on that. But getting going here, obviously. Like we said, past halfway, still single file. Thomas Lattimore, though, all over the bumper. Was all over the bumper of the 78. Kind of backed off. Now, I got to wonder if he's wanting to get to that lead and lead some laps here.
Absolutely. He led early. He has some laps led. He's probably up there close with Jeff Hamilton for most laps led tonight. Obviously, Jeff Hamilton has the most. Ron Miller's even led quite a few since those pit stops, but we never know. So obviously, yes, you probably want to get to the lead. And one thing I'm not seeing is AJ Scarborough. He's being patient. He's waiting out on that caution because he could easily probably get work with a 2-car tandem and get back up to that lead lap. The old-fashioned way is we get 50 laps to go this time by 50 to go here in the ECR Daytona 500.
Well, the thing I got to be thinking with AJ is there's almost no point to get your lap back because you're in a position where if the caution comes out, you're in the lucky dog spot, so you get your lap back anyway, and you have to pit. So even if you get your lap back and you get out in front of Ron, you have to pit anyway and you're a lap down, and then it's essentially the same position. I think he's doing the smart thing here by riding on the tail end of that pack. Joey Lamb, obviously, as we said, back on the lead lap. He's one that might want to go up front, kind of challenge for the lead. Is Lattimore again all over the bumper? I'm not sure what he's gaining by pushing, but he's certainly pushing him a few car lengths out in front of Kevin Cook.
And one thing you have to look for towards the end, barring any pit stop issues, is second place, Thomas Lattimore in the 48 and George Price in fourth place. Those two guys led Foot Motorsports teammates. They are hooked up. We talked about all dual race on Tuesday night, all throughout the dual race. Those two guys are hooking up. They try to hook up on every single restart, and they're working their rear ends off, trying to get to the front. You guys got to watch. You got to watch for those, the 48 and the 03 in the closing laps of this one, trying to hook up to get together.
And I think at this point, almost any 2-car tandem, I think could get out there and lead. I'm not sure they want to because I don't think they see a point. As we mentioned, fuel being a factor. Ron's burning the most fuel. Obviously, being in the lead comes with the bonus points, but a lot of these guys, I think, are content with riding, watching when these guys pit, maybe kind of staying on that strategy. I think if any 2 of these guys hooked up, I think they could probably easily make a play at the lead. I don't think there'd be much fight, so it'll be interesting to see as we go on if one of these guys decides they want to get out there and lead, or if they're just going to let Ron run this one to the last 5 laps.
Absolutely. We mentioned, Joey Lamb and AJ Scarborough, Jeff Hamilton, Nick Groth, all those guys that pitted early, that did stay out under that first yellow flag. They got to be pitting here soon. Obviously, they can't make it from here, but they can make it on one more stop, as can everybody else. So you never know what they're thinking through there, trying to stretch it as far as they can.
You'd have to think they're working the race backwards now. Obviously, if you come after lap 80, I think you're pretty much golden on fuel. I don't know where their windows are at. But if you come after lap 80, you're good on fuel to the end. Cautions or no caution, you should be able to get 40 laps out of a tank. So guys starting to work the race backwards. Maybe they're planning on how much fuel they want to take, tires they want to take. I can't imagine those guys that are on that alternate strategy would take anything less than 4 tires and 2 full cans of fuel. I don't think they'd push anything. But some of these guys, towards the front of the pack, maybe thinking 2 tires and a can later on, maybe working math out in their head. One thing I do want to note on Thomas Lattimore, I don't know, he might be practicing pushing for all I can think. He keeps shoving 78 out there, then he pulls way high and cools his nose, ducks back in, falls back and pushes him out. Might be practicing with that manufacturer teammate of pushing a little bit here.
One thing I was looking at, I was noticing that same thing that you were just talking about, John, with Lattimore pushing. I think what Lattimore's trying to do is maybe time it right. We mentioned it earlier. He's trying to stick his nose out there, see if he can get a run. And I think maybe that's what he's trying to do, realizing that there's only 5 cars in this lead pack. It's going to come down, if this stays caution-free, it's going to come down to 2 or 3 cars. And he's going to try to see if that move will work off turn 4, off turn 2, whatever it may be.
And one thing we can't see that he maybe can is when he pulls out, even if he doesn't use the run, he can feel if he's getting a good enough run to pass a car. As soon as you pull out a line, you can tell just by the first split second of suck up you get, when you slingshot a guy, if you have enough to pass him or not. And I think he's feeling that without really showing his cards. Maybe he's baiting Ron a little bit, showing, maybe making Ron think that he doesn't have enough when actually he does. He might just be showing him the nose and mess with him, or maybe he's just getting bored. I mean, in all honesty, these guys have been running now for over 60 laps under green. They're out here in this 5-car breakaway. Maybe just trying to find something to pass the time, practicing a little bit, or as you said, making that race-winning move over and over again in his head.
Absolutely. We mentioned Nick Groth and Jeff Hamilton closing in on that second pack. They have caught them, and Nick Groth has left Jeff Hamilton. And this is some good racing back in the second pack. Nick Groth trying to hook up with his teammate in the 38 of Ryan Kirchhoff, trying to push him back by Aaron Vincent in the 49. Jeff Hamilton all by himself. As the 66, Tom Clayton's going to try to go with him. Aaron Vincent all by himself. We got some good racing back in the pack.
Yeah, and jumping back there, you can see these guys, the front pack, just biding time. These guys don't want to bide time. They're too wide. Jeff Hamilton, been your leader pretty much all night long until a mistake on pit road back in this pack. These guys want to go. I don't know where they're going to go, but they want to go, and they're getting racy. Now the 66 pulls down, leaves Jeff Hamilton even more hung out. Not a lot of friends out there for Jeff right now.
And that goes back to what we mentioned before. I believe his only teammate left right now is Joey Lamb. Teammate without damage, I should say, is Joey Lamb and Kevin Cook, in the 45 and the 81. Those three guys are left alone, and Jeff Hamilton's all out on his own right now as Joey Lamb and Kevin Cook are running 5th and 3rd, respectively.
And the advantage of these guys left in the field is that even being hung out all by himself and struggling like he is, and being 25 seconds off the lead, he's only in 9th place. I mean, this wouldn't be a bad spot to finish the Daytona 500 after a pit road speeding penalty under green and then another full cycle and an off cycle. If he can bring this thing home in a top 10, I mean, I think he sleeps well tonight. I don't think he has any problem with that. He's running on the high side with a little bit, I think, help from Nick Groth pulling on a line. Now he'll slot in the bottom pretty well. So I think he thinks he can get up there and lead this line if he has to. So I think that's 6th position he'd be in if he gets up there. So I don't think he's too upset with where he's at.
Absolutely. And John, all it takes is one yellow flag, a car to blow up, something to happen to where the track is blocked and the yellow flag has to be thrown. And there's 16 different guys that can win this race. Anybody on the lead lap within a second and a half, 2 seconds of the leader with 5 to go has just as good a chance as the leader of winning that race, especially here at Daytona.
I'd say even in some cases a better chance. I mean, we know the lead isn't where you want to be. If we do get that caution, and there's so many things that can cause it. Obviously, iRacing is ECR is personally adamant. So if something happens that normally wouldn't cause a caution on iRacing, say a guy spins around on pit road or if something happens on the track, wouldn't normally bring in a caution, the admins will actually throw one. So a variety of different things can bring in a caution. A pit road mistake, someone like AJ going through the grass, maybe not able to control it like AJ was. As you said, a car blowing up or a car just getting loose on the apron and self-spinning way off the field. All these things can bring in a caution. So by no means is this thing guaranteed to go green as we're coming to 40 to go this time by. But these guys, probably hoping for that caution, and maybe in some cases not. I mean, we know the 12 is pretty damaged. He probably loses positions if the caution comes out. Kevin Cook's not in the best spot if the caution comes out. So some of these guys maybe hoping it goes green, and obviously people like Jeff Hamilton praying for that caution flag.
And John, I know you and I, Joel Hamilton, our teammate in Moist Motorsports, Nathan Casilla, all of us guys, we were talking about last night. These big super speedway tracks, you just got to survive. And that was what everyone was talking about pre-race. And every pre-race interview we did, they said their goal was to survive. Obviously, a lot of guys didn't in that first wreck. But these guys up here in the second pack, they're just trying to survive, get to the end. And I don't think they'll have any problem with the top 10 tonight. At least this top 13 cars in this second pack.
And as we were looking at that backpack with Jeff Hamilton, we actually missed a pass for the lead. At some point, Thomas Lattimore got around the 78 of Ron Miller, and as your new leader in that double or the 03 car, Ron Miller now doing seemingly the same thing to him that Thomas was doing to Ron. He's up on the bumper, pushing and cooling it, pushing and cooling it. I'm not sure if these guys are working on something or if they're just messing with each other. But your new leader, as we hit 39 to go that time, is Thomas Lattimore.
Absolutely, and it looks like just a few laps ago, Thomas Lattimore did make the pass on the outside of Ron Miller with help from Kevin Cook in the 45. Obviously, Kevin Cook damaged in the front end, so when Thomas Lattimore dropped down, was unable to complete the move. He's still in 3rd place with his teammate Joey Lamb in 5th place.
And this is the cutthroat part of racing we talk about, and I love Kevin Cook. He's a great guy, but with that front nose damage, and your Thomas Lattimore, you almost want to leave him hanging because you don't want that guy in your bumper if you need him. His suck-up's not as good. His car might be a little hurt, and I hate to say that, but that's the part of Daytona that a lot of people, dislike, for lack of a better term, is the kind of cutthroat that it brings out in people. You have to ditch your friends. You have to sometimes even work with your worst enemy out here to make it work. And I know Thomas Lattimore probably wanted to bring Kevin, but thinking long-term, maybe not the best move.
And I'm thinking Thomas Lattimore, the one thing he does not want to do. Thomas Lattimore is an owner of Leadfoot Motorsports. I don't think he wants to leave the 48 of George Price behind it. I think you see Corey Chaffin in the chat box here. He's talking about it. You don't want to leave your teammate, especially two guys with such good chemistry as the 48 and the 03, as well as guys that have such good speed as the 03 and 48 of Thomas Lattimore and George Price at Leadfoot Motorsports. They don't want to leave each other. They want to be together at the end. And I think if those two guys can get hooked up at the end, the rest of the field's in a lot of danger.
And it looks difficult where they run right now for those two to get hooked up, but all it takes is the 48 getting by Kevin Cook, and from there, I mean, the 03 can pull high, and the 48 can just shove, right down in the second place pretty much. So if the 48 can get around Kevin Cook, which shouldn't be that hard once he puts his mind to it with that nose damage, these two can hook up, and if they get to each other's bumpers, it's going to be a long night for the other three cars up there.
Ooh, it's second pack. A lot of the cars in the second pack. They're pulling down pit road. Nick Groth, Jeff Hamilton. Jeff Hamilton's in the grass. Overshoots it. Another pit stop error for Jeff Hamilton. He's in the grass right now. Oh, tough break for the 4 car of Jeff Hamilton. Speeding on pit road once again. Missing his entry. Our pole sitter, Jeff Hamilton, having a lot of problems. As you see, the 49, Aaron Vincent, 66 of Tom Clayton, Rob Burns, Nick Groth, and a bunch of others going down pit road.
Going back and looking at this, apologies for missing the incident with the 4. We're going to go back and take a look at this botched pit road entry. See where it went wrong. Again, way too fast, barreling down to the entrance of pit road. And I think he sped again, not to mention the... I don't know if the brake bias is not tuned in that car, but that's the second time tonight I've seen him come flying down that inside wall. Just ridiculously fast.
As you see Kevin Cook, Joey Lamb, AJ Scarborough, bunch of these guys going down pit road. Thomas Lattimore, Ron Miller, and George Price, those 3 Ford Fusions are all out there on their own. You got to think it's not going to be too much longer before they come down and make their final pit stop of the night.
Yeah, you see that 5-car breakaway just got a lot smaller. Thomas Lattimore, Ron Miller, George Price, the only 3 guys out of that front pack not to pit. Kevin Cook obviously came in. Joey Lamb had to come in. As you see Jeff Hamilton there being passed, that'll put him a lap down. Excuse me, I believe that'll put him 2 laps down after that another pit road mistake on his part.
I think only these 3 cars here, those 3 cars are the only 3 not to pit. You got Paul Zada, Luis Salmazo, and Charles Silver. All those guys have pitted. They're in a 3-car pack off turn 2 as we speak. So I think those 3 are the only 3 not to make a pit stop, as well as Troy Latart, Ryan Kirchvold, and Justin Bland, excuse me.
And I'm not sure, did we miss something? But I believe the 3 cars in the beginning of the race that pitted off cycle are now back on cycle with this round of pit stops.
I don't think it's that they're back on cycle. I think it's that everybody else realizes that they can make it from this point on. And I think that they just decided to go and when everyone else did, try to make it a big group thing, especially that second pack. They got to work together if they're going to want any hope of trying to catch this lead pack.
Well, that's a great break for the 5 and the 81. Obviously, a lap down right now, showing a lap down. But once these guys pit, they cycle back around. They should both be back on the lead lap. Jeff Hamilton's going to be the one hung out here 2 laps down. But a great break for those guys. Kevin Cook is in a great spot as well. He might have a chance of inheriting the lead. He's a lap down right now on the tail end of that pack. But once these guys pit, he's in a good spot.
Absolutely. 33 laps to go that time by, excuse me. These 3 Ford Fusions, Thomas Lattimore, Ron Miller, and George Price, obviously working together as a manufacturer, and obviously the 48 and the 03 working as a team. These guys, they got to pit. I don't know what they're thinking. Obviously, I mean, you mentioned tires. Tires are playing a role, and I think that they need to pit, because what happens if one of those 3 guys make a mistake on pit entry and it's left with a 2-car tandem? I think this is a mistake by these 3 trying to stay out for too long, as well as Troy Latart, Justin Bland, Ryan Kirchvold, the second 3 cars that have yet to pit. I think these 6 cars are all making a big mistake.
Well, on the other side of the coin, if these guys can stay out and get a caution, they maintain their lead guaranteed, as well as they don't have to make a green flag pit stop, and it takes the potential error of that out. You obviously want to pit, you want to get it over with and out of your mind, that it's one less thing to worry about. But at the same time, if these guys can somehow catch a caution here, which, again, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But if they can, they get to pit under caution, nice and slow and easy, and then they get to come back out in the lead because everyone else has to take the lead around.
Absolutely. I didn't even think about it that way, John. That was a great perspective to point out. And that if that situation does come out, those 6 guys I just mentioned, I think that they're making a big mistake, are in the best shape of their lives because they're in the top 6, with the rest of the field starting single file in the inside lane as the waiver rounds would.
It seems everything at Daytona is a two-sided coin. I mean, we talked about people going to the front, going to the back. We talked about people, working different fuel strategies, people working with different teammates and stuff. It seems like everything here has 2 outcomes, including when you pit and how you pit. I mean, nothing at Daytona is ever black and white. Obviously, everything is luck-based and luck of the draw, and it's a lot of positioning. So everything here is kind of a gray area at Daytona. Everyone's got different thoughts and feelings on it. Obviously, some people hate it, some people love it, and it's fun to watch guys, work the race backwards in their head. They work out all the different possibilities, and we'll see if it works out for them. I believe one car out of the tail pack there pitted, but these front 3 still going strong.
Yeah, it looks like Ryan Kirchvall in the 38 did make his green flag pit stop, scheduled pit stop. Troy Latart in the 82 and the 65, Justin Bland, of both of Geos Bland Racing, still yet to make their pit stop, as well as the top 3 that we mentioned before. Coming out this next time by, 29 laps to go. These guys are making me eager that I want to see them when they're going to pit. And this may not be a bad decision. They could go inside, take 2 tires, fill it up just enough fuel to make it to the end, and they come out 2 seconds ahead of everybody else. So who knows what's going through their minds here? It's the top 3.
Now.
Here they come right here. Gotta see if they get in there all right.
Looks like they all get slowed down.
Lattimore,
George Price spins out.
Oh no. Tough break, and he was backed out of pit road. That's maybe a black flag. Big mistake for the 48 right there, and that's what I mentioned. They're not going to have any help back there right now. If those 3 cars, we mentioned before, the 5, the 40, the 45, and the 81, maybe in best shape right now.
Yeah, that splits up that lead draft. Quick pit stops for everyone else. Looks
Oh,
like
they both. Thomas Lattimore spins out all of his pit stall, accelerates too hard. Left front damage on the 0-3 machine, as that second pack that we mentioned flies by to get their lap back. These guys are still in the lead, not hooked up, with damage. And Thomas Lattimore spins on the apron.
Thomas Lattimore not having a good time getting off pit road. You mentioned he spun out of his pit stall, hit the wall. Now he's spinning on track. Cold tires.
Chris
not a friend of Thomas
Sercoy and
Lattimore.
Charles Silver both get their lap back.
And your new leader of the ECR Daytona 500 is Troy Latart in the 82. He inherits the lead. Justin Bland in second, and then you go back to Thomas Lattimore, who's now going to be well off the pace, back there in 3rd place.
Him and the 78 of Ron Miller are hooked up. Troy Latart and Justin Bland, GBR, trying to get their laps led. Kevin Cook and Joy Lamb, AJ Scarborough, they've all caught this front pack. So these 2, George Price, we got to take a look at him. He's well off the pace right now. About half a straightaway behind this lead pack. Unfortunate set of circumstances for the 48. But
He's
these
out
guys,
there in no man's land. No help
Troy
in sight
Latart's
either
leader
end.
right now.
Poor George Price. One little mistake coming on pit road, and now he's got a 7-second gap in front of him and forever out his mirror for help. I mean, he's going to be alone until he falls back, most likely a lap down, or at least well back into the field. Again, we talked about it's never set in stone here at Daytona. Anything can happen. He was running in 4th position, had his teammate in the lead, had everything lined up for what seemed like a perfect finish, and then a simple little braking mistake coming on pit road, and now he's in a very bad position. Back to your leader, though, Troy Latart. You see Nick Groff there is actually a lap down. He's already pitted, but the 66 in the all-white car behind him is coming. He's in P2. So these guys both have to pit. They have not pitted yet. Maybe working for a 1-can of fuel strategy and 2 right-side tires, or even 2 left-side tires here. Will be interesting to see when they come. The 82 obviously not in this for any most laps led awards tonight. He got his bonus points for the lap led. Now he's working a fuel strategy. And I'll take this quick second, as Nick mentions in the chat. Anyone who's new to the stream, feel free to hit that follow button. We're live every Tuesday night. The green flag is at 9:30 Eastern. We go live just a little bit before the race with some pre-race interviews and pre-show activities. You can follow us on Twitter at ECR_league and moist_online. Thank you guys for coming out tonight and your continued support of the ECR League and MOTV. I'm interested to see when these guys pit. They've got a pack catching behind them. Oh, and a caution comes out.
Wow.
Not exactly sure where that is on track. Maybe something to do with Mark Figueroa. Let's take a look. No, Mark Figueroa is simply coming off pit road. So not going to be with him. But what a break for Troy Latart. He's going to stay out here. He's going to be able to pit. He's going to cycle back through, it looks like maybe to about 7th. What a break for George Price, who was 19 seconds behind
Absolutely.
the field, and now gets to make up all that time and come back up with the pack.
Oh, it looks like the 63, John, on lap 94. Paul Zada in the 63 spun out all by himself in front of that lead pack. Kevin Cook, it looks like, may have gotten major damage. It does. Kevin Cook
Going
with
back and
major
looking here at
damage from the 63.
It's not going to let me go back far enough to catch. You saw just the tail end of it there. Apologies for that. But the 63 of Paul Zada around. And you said the 45 catching damage in that? Oh, yes.
Major
this
damage.
hood all
Kevin
popped
Cook
up
on the
on the
left
front of
side.
that 45. So the
Such a
damage
tough
nose,
break for him.
Kevin Cook becomes even more damaged here. And just one of those deals again where you just can't get out of the way.
And one thing you have to look out for, Thomas Lattimore obviously is going to endure the lead unless he decides to pit. Nick Groth in the 19, Tom Clayton in the 66, Aaron Vincent the 49, Rob Burns, Ryan Kirchhoff, Luis Salzmo, Charles Silver are all going to get their laps back. Nick Groth's going to get the lucky dog. AJ Scarborough's in the worst position of all this. He will not get the wave around. He's going to have to hope for another yellow flag here before 10 to go to get the green flag.
And apologies, just a quick technical reboot here. Had a bit of an issue with the overlay as they're under caution here. We're actually going to take a step away and take a quick commercial break. We appreciate your support throughout the night and hope to see you on the other side. Alrighty guys, welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. You see the 03 of Thomas Lattimore has cycled back around to your lead here. Ron Miller's going to be in second position, Joey Lamb in third, George Price, a huge break for him. Going to be up to fourth, Troy Latart, who stayed out there. Another nice break for him in fifth. Justin Bland in sixth, Nick Gross going to get back around on the lead lap in seventh. Kevin Cook with the damage on pit road, he's in eighth. I don't think that'll stand. 66 of Tom Clayton also with a lucky break in ninth. And Rob Burns showing a 10th. Again,
And one thing we haven't really mentioned, Charles Silver, Salmazo, Ryan Churchville, Aaron Vince, all these guys that were in that second pack, all of them, they're back on the lead lap. They're right back in this thing trying to win the ECR Daytona 500.
And again, we urge you guys to come back next week. We apologize again. There's been some long green flag stretches and some bit of a breakaway tandems here and there, but next week we go to Atlanta, Hotland as it's nicknamed. Be some slick, some fast racing, obviously a much smaller track, a lot more action going on, so we do thank you for continued support, and we look forward to an exciting finish here. We should go green with about 21 maybe laps to go, 20 or 21 laps to go. The perfect time for a little shootout here at Daytona.
And after all this, John, how exciting is this to see I mean, obviously, great racing all around. It brought in strategy, it brought in speed, it brought in pit stops, it brought everything involved that has ever been involved in NASCAR racing, and they've thrown it all together. And we're gonna have a shootout with 20 to go, with 15 of the best sim racers on here trying to win this ACR Daytona 500.
And on a sidebar here, looking at the left front of Thomas Lattimore, I know you mentioned he had spun on pit road, and I wasn't exactly sure of the extent of his damage. We just got a close-up of his left front. That's pretty bad. I mean, that's bad enough that leading here is going to be difficult. He's going to be slowed down. He might have to look for that teammate of George Price and work something out here to get behind him, because I'm not sure that car is going to be able to hold the lead draft without getting past like a parked car.
Well, he seemed to be able to hold the lead as he came off pit road. He seemed to be able to hold it fairly well. I wasn't able to catch the speeds that they were running, but I'm assuming he was running. I mean, obviously he's going to be in the lead right now, so he's obviously not off pace, but definitely could impede his progress.
And again, apologies for the bit of a technical bug there. The ticker was, as I'm sure some of you may notice, spazzing just a little bit on top of the stream. But that should all be fixed back up now. Getting ready for a 20-lap shootout. We want to make sure everything's perfect for you guys out there supporting and watching the stream. Pretty much all over. I know we've got some people from my old days of streaming. We've got some people from the league, some people stopping by. We thank you for your support. We're getting ready to go green here. Going to be 21 laps to go on the restart, and as Colin said earlier, pretty much every car without damage in this thing to win it.
Let's see if we can run them down for you real quick here. We're going to have the restart with 21 laps to go in the ECR Daytona 500. Thomas Lattimore, he's been out front since the first set of pit stops. He's been out front all night long. Those Ford Fusions have been tough to get by all night long here. Thomas Lattimore, Ron Miller on the front row. Joey Lamb, he was part of that. He's off sequence of that pit stall. He got a lucky break here with that yellow flag, as did George Price. Those guys are going to be restarting second row, excuse me. Troy Latart, Justin Bland, GBR with a lucky break after that yellow flag came out after running first and second. They're going to be restarting in the third row. Kevin Cook on the inside of the fourth row, as well as Nick Groth, Tom Clayton, Rob Burns, your top 10.
And the green flag is out, and Thomas Lattimore doesn't look like he wants to drop back anywhere. A huge jump on the 81 of Joey Lamb and the 78 of Ron Miller.
And he has to be careful. That's a sit and duck position right there. If he gets out too far ahead.
Pack.
Wow.
Sorry for the interruption there. They were 4 wide, splitting a lapped car who was extremely damaged. Bit of a moment back there. I'm not sure exactly who all was in that. Take a moment off the lead here. Some lap cars high, some faster cars passing low. This can be a very dangerous point of the race.
And Thomas Lattimore has to block 2 lines right now. Ron Miller down the outside line all by himself. Joey Lamb on the inside. And GBR, those guys that were up front, got the lucky break. They're in 5th and 6th. Jeff Hamilton, who had the couple pit stop problems, he's 1 lap down. The first car lap down in 15th. The lucky dog spot if we get in said position.
And now I feel almost bad for Joey Lamb. He's in between those 2 teammates. And if at any point they decide they want to go and move with each other, that leaves him in a very bad spot.
Yeah, Joey Lamb, we mentioned Jeff Hamilton getting, targeted with those Apocalypse Motorsports. Joey Lamb, Apocalypse Motorsports in that 81 Chevrolet SS. He's in a tough position right there. Like, as you said, all it takes is for the 03 and the 48 to go in the same line, and the 81's hung out to dry. And not to mention the 2 teammates behind him, Justin Glenn and Troy Latart, all they have to do is get hooked up. Ron Miller in between those 2 teammates right there. Top 6 all within half a second of each other. Then a 2-second gap all the way back from 7th all the way to 14th.
And I would like to point out Jeff Hamilton, who is hanging on to the tail end of this draft, is actually a lap down in 15th. He's kind of hanging on. He is in the lucky dog position, so if you get another caution, he would be the one to get the lucky dog. He's got to stay out of trouble, though, hanging on to the tail end of that pack. It's interesting.
How about that second pack right there? They are flying.
You see, led by the 5 of A.J. Scarborough, who's actually a lap down as well. I believe, yes, Nick Groth out in front of that pack. It's the first car for position. But they are catching this pack extremely quickly, the 19 pushing that lap down car. And not to say A.J. Scarborough isn't a lap down due to damage. He's a lap down due to mistake. He does have speed in that number 5. Can certainly be a help, Nick Groth and others.
Absolutely. You know, John, we mentioned the second pack flying up to the lead pack. You gotta wonder if that left front damage on Thomas Lattimore's Harley Davidson Ford Fusion is causing that front pack to be a little slower. As you see Ron Miller jump to the outside, he's going to try to get pushed from AJ Scarborough in the 5.
You know, you said that. Oh, a little bit of trouble back in the pack, 3 wide. Looks like the 78 of Ron Miller and the 5 of AJ Scarborough had a moment. They'll sort it out. Ron Miller back in line, AJ hanging out. Help Nick Groff, though, get up to this front pack. Nick Groff's going to fall in, I believe, in the 7th position, which is where he was before, but now with this lead pack. A very bold move from AJ Scarborough there. Pulling straight out across the nose of Jeff Hamilton.
Ron Miller tried to get the outside lane to get pushed, and he was unable to just work on it because AJ Scarborough and Nick Groff were coming so fast. Contact ensued, and they slowed, but that's definitely slowed everybody down.
And now we've almost got that one line forward back up. The lead pack certainly got a lot bigger with the addition of those cars from the back, and now Jeff Hamilton leading that second line, trying to catch back up with these guys. You got Nick Groff and Ron Miller side by side. That's for 7. And Ron Miller with a moment down to the inside. He'll save it. He's going to have to go through the grass. Back on track. What a save by Ron Miller. Terrible turn of events and a caution thrown for it. But what a save by Ron Miller to hold on that car. Let's go back and take a quick look.
Wow.
You can see here they're riding along. They're coming down into turn 1. Nick Groff, Ron Miller are side by side. Then I don't know if Nick comes down or if Ron just loses it here.
No, it looks as if the 19 came down. Definitely contact from
the 19
that situation.
comes down, catches Ron, and then what a job to hang on to this race car going towards the inside wall. Catches the curb there in the bus stop and is able to drive it and gets his caution. He's going to catch back up with the field here. Obviously lost some much needed positions, but he's still got 4 tires under him.
You mentioned Jeff Hamilton in the lucky dog spot. AJ Scarborough got by Jeff Hamilton. AJ Scarborough is going to get that lucky dog, and we know that 5 car has speed. We've seen him up front in that lead pack. We know that 5 car has speed. Look out for him. We're going to have a restart here with under 15 laps to go. Tough break for the 78, and definitely a tough break for the pole sitter Jeff Hamilton. Both cars definitely lost out of that. But what a save by the 78. I'm baffled. How do you keep that thing straight right there? That's so much throttle control, wheel input, everything involved right there. So much used.
Certainly a cool head. You can't panic in that situation. We always talk about, some of the best NASCAR drivers in history have been able to be calm in those moments, and you can't panic. You see the inside wall coming. You can't overcorrect it. You can't, brake super hard. You've got to keep the car under control, and a great job there by just a little bit of wheel input, maybe a little bit of drag in the brake, and he keeps the car under him, and then a great job to know where he's at on the track and see a way back onto the racing surface and not, maybe try to pull up too quick to avoid the grass. He sees what he has to do, and he drives it back up, and he gets his caution. It's a great caution there thrown by our ECR admins, I think, rewarding a great save, as sometimes iRacing will punish it, but a great save there by the 78, and he'll stay in the race.
And, John, I just want to point out one thing right now. Leadfoot Motorsports is going to start bumper to bumper on the inside line. George Price and Thomas Lattimore, I think they're in the catbird seat right now. Obviously, GBR behind them is going to be tough to beat as well. But Joey Lamb, he's on his own. He's nowhere he can get up there.
And a good point here by Nick Olson. Some of the people in the waiver on position or the lucky dog here probably going to pit and get those 4 fresh Goodyears. We mentioned AJ Scarborough getting the lucky dog. 4 fresh tires is the biggest advantage as it is at some tracks, but it'll help. You mentioned that car showing bad fast speed as he pulled Nick Groff through the field. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but when he chopped off Jeff Hamilton's nose and kind of scared him for a moment, that was for the lucky dog spot. And it got him the lucky dog, and he's going to circle himself back around to the lead lap, probably going to pit, as Nick said, and go from there. So good strategy by AJ, and great work to get himself back on the lead lap for this, what we hope is the last shootout of the race.
And don't forget, everybody, check out the league Twitter, ECR, at ECR_league. If you're at work or whatever you're trying to do and you're trying to be quiet, not trying to wake anybody up or anything like that, follow the ECR_league for live updates for tonight's race.
And there you see it in the chat. If you want to copy paste send in your Twitter, simply give that a follow. We tweet, obviously, as Colin said, live tweets from the Xfinity Series races occasionally. We'll sometimes live tweet, or I think always live tweet this race, as well as updates from practices and things around ECR in general. So give that league a follow, or that Twitter a follow, for all your ECR league info, as well as broadcast times. If anything does happen to change, we'll obviously let you guys know. Down below, you'll see some important links on the Twitch channel itself. You've got my YouTube and my Twitter, which I believe is where these races are going to be posted somewhere. I don't know if we've worked out the logistics on that yet, but they'll be up somewhere on YouTube, as well as my Twitter, which is also a good way to find out what's going on with the league and things surrounding it. You've also got a link to iRacing.com if any of you guys are interested in signing up for the service that you see on screen right now. You've got a link to the ECR page, as well as the Moist Online page. So all your links you need down below. You can simply click the pictures and go wherever you want.
Absolutely. And John, it looks like we're going to get the restart here with 12 laps to go. We're going to have a 12-lap restart. Obviously, that's enough room. We don't want one, but there's enough room for another yellow flag and for these guys to double fly them up, right back up, and have one more restart. Obviously, Thomas Lattimore and George Price, they're right where they want to be. If they could go back a week and plan everything out, this is where they want to be. First and third, bumper to bumper on that inside line for a 12-lap shootout here for the ECR Daytona 500.
And not only that, but you look at the cars around him. I don't see anyone that's really been up front all day except Joey Lamb. Troy Latart led a few laps due to a fuel strategy. And then behind them, you've got some cars with some damage. So, as you said, if they could write a script for this race, I don't think they could write it any better. These guys are going to be 1 and 3, which after the restart should be pretty much 1 and 2. I think it's better than 1 and 2 by a long shot. You see a long line of cars on the inside here form. Some wave around, some lap down cars. We'll double file them up though, and hopefully our last pace lap of the event.
Absolutely, John. And one thing you got to look out for: Thomas Lattimore, George Price, Leadfoot Motorsports, 1st and 3rd on this restart. Giles Bland Racing, 4th and 5th on the restart. You got to think Latart's going to let Justin Bland in on the inside so they can get hooked up together. They're 4th and 5th right now. Charles Silver and Luis Salmazo right now, they're 10th and 12th. They're going to hook up. They're obviously going to be faster than two guys that don't usually work together well. So teammates are going to play a big factor. They always do here at Super Speedways. So be able to look out for that. AJ Scarborough and Nick Groff, not teammates, I don't believe, but they have been fast, bad fast, all night long together, as you saw in that late race push they just made. But we're going to run it down here. Thomas Lattimore and Joey Lamb on the front row for this 12-lap restart. George Price and Justin Bland will be in the second row. Troy Latart 5th. Tom Clayton in 66. We really haven't talked about him at all, I don't believe, tonight. He's in the 6th place position. Rob Burns has damage from that first wreck. He's going to be on the inside of row 4. Aaron Vincent, he's been up in that second pack we mentioned all night long. He's in the 8th position. Ryan Kirchwall and Charles Silver round out the top 10.
And then you've got Ron Miller, and interesting, I want to give a shout to him as well as Kevin Cook. Those guys have been up front a lot tonight. They're starting 11th and 13th. They're nose to tail. I know Kevin Cook's got some damage. It'll be interesting to see what these guys can get worked out. So we're getting ready to go green here for what we hope is the last time tonight. Obviously, your front row consists of Thomas Lattimore and Joey Lamb with George Price, Thomas Lattimore's teammate, right on his bumper. So we're going to make the hard left turn. Pace car's going to here, and we'll get you back for what hopefully is your last restart of the day.
12 laps to go, John. This is going to be amazing as the pace car's off. Green flag in the air. Thomas Lattimore and George Price obviously communicating. They trying to get the best restart they can. They're going to get hooked up bumper to bumper unless Joey Lamb can say something about it.
Joey Lamb needs that 65 to get to his bumper, and he's just not doing it. Way off the pace of 65. I'm not sure. Yeah, he's going to fall in line. So is Joey Lamb down to 3rd. George Price and Thomas Lattimore 1-2 as we expected. Behind them is going to be the 82 with Troy Latart, 65, and the 66 trailing behind him. Back behind them, 2 wide, 3 deep.
This is where racing becomes happen. You know the 19 and the 5. We know they're fast. They're going to try to hook up. They're going to try to come to the front. Justin Bland, the 65. Troy Latart, the 82. Giles Bland Racing. They're going to try to hook up. They're going to try to come to the front. We mentioned George Price and Thomas Lattimore being hooked up in a catbird seat. They could also be in the sitting duck seat if one of them pushes too long and they're unable to push at the end. 11 to go that time by.
AJ Scarborough back in the pack, trying to find room. Hard contact with Charles Silver in the 7, but nowhere to go for him. He'll fall back down to the bottom. Single file here, guys, trying to find their partners, trying to find a way to make a move. Not a lot opening up. Obviously, you got to find guys without damage. The 12 car slowing down. I think this pack back here. Back to the lead. These guys single file. The 81 is there. Just got to get help from the 82.
And I don't think he's going to get it, John. Teammates play such a big factor here. I think the 81's a sit and duck unless he can get back to that 66 at Tom Clayton. I think he's his only friend right now because of the teammates working with Leadfoot Motorsports and GBR.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard. We talked about it earlier, and he's in the middle of these two where it's just you don't have any friends. I mean, you don't have friends at Daytona. It's not a good place to be. Friends and enemies make a person's race at Daytona. Not that these guys are enemies by any means, but they're just not going to go out of their way or leave their teammates to help you, and that puts Joey Lamb in a really bad spot.
Absolutely. And there's just nothing you can do about it. He's in a crap situation, and he's making the best of it. 'Cause he's not in cahoots with anybody right now in that front pack. And yet he's in third place, and he's been up there. He's been up in the top 5 all night long. We've been talking about him all night long. Joey Lamb in that 81, he has a bad, fast Chevrolet. It's just a matter if he can get any help.
But we see George Price sliding up just a little bit there. I mean, he could always break up this front two tandem. He doesn't necessarily have to pass him, just needs to break him up. You see he looks way low, almost down below the yellow line. I think he's looking to get the nose in under the 48. The 48's having trouble keeping it down. He's following his teammate. They're kind of bobbing and weaving. If the 81 can get a really well-timed run, we know he can get the nose in there. And once you get the nose in, there's not much you can do with a guy unless you want to take the risk of wrecking him and yourself and chop his nose off.
Contact hard. Contact wrecking on the backstretch. Major contact. 3-4 cars involved.
Oh, and Jeff Hamilton's in it hard. 49 Aaron Vincent, the 78 Ron Miller.
Wrecking after the yellow flag.
What a... Wow, I wasn't ready for that far back.
Looks like after the yellow flag, Charles Silver in the 7 hits Rob Burns in the 12. Both cars in major damage in 3 and 4. After the yellow flag happens, it looks like Charles Silver just wasn't expecting the 12 to slow down.
Go back and take a look here. Let's see what happens in the initial incident. We see the 49, I saw him, and it looks like the 78, and I believe that's the 5 of AJ Scarborough get together. 78 comes down, clips the 49. He's hard into the wall. Now we'll go back and try to find Charles Silver. We see him wrecking. Yeah, you see right behind the 12, as you had mentioned, and they're actually in front of the wreck. Wow, I wasn't ready for that. I thought they were behind it.
Yeah.
And looks like he just barely taps the 12, and there they go, and that catches the, I believe that was the 32, as he went by. So that's 5 cars at the drop of a hat out of the race.
Wow. And John, at time, we're going to double file them up one more time.
And now it gets interesting because the 3 and the 48 are no longer nose to tail. And now the 81 can really have something to say if he can get in there and break this tandem up. 65 thought about pitting. He thinks better, but he'll stay on the racetrack. I don't think these guys are short on fuel. I think everyone out here should easily have enough, especially with the caution laps.
No, this will definitely be the last restart. Remember, ECR and iRacing in general, we do not have green-white checkers that play such a large factor into the finishes of NASCAR events. We do not have that implemented in iRacing or ECR, for that matter. So under 5 to go, the last restart is the last restart, as will be the case here tonight.
Yep, this will be your last drop of the green flag, and the next flag you see after that will either be a yellow, a white, or a checker. So we'll see which ones happen to turn up first. Hopefully it's that white and checkered flag and not that yellow one. We'd like to see this thing finish under green. Obviously, I know a lot of people disappointed in the actual run into the Daytona 500. They wanted to see it finish. Hopefully we get you one here tonight. If not, it's been an amazing race. We saw not too many incidents. We had the early one, you know, in the early teens of this race, lap 13, lap 14, that took out a good number of cars, took out your league president, Anthony Titchener, and took out Chuck Harrell. Wayne Willard, who had ran up front, you know, led the first lap of the event. And after that, pretty much smooth sailing until the 63 spun and collected the 45 of Kevin Cook. And then you just saw a few minutes ago a wreck that took out, I believe, 5 more cars are all going to have to retire from this event.
And this is such a tough break. You know, Rob Burns suffered damage on that first big wreck, obviously. Made contact with the 55 of Joel Hamilton. Rob Burns made contact. He was still holding pace. And he was going to be in 6th place, 7th place after that yellow flag, and contact from the 7 of Charles Silver after the yellow flag. I don't think it's really intentional whatsoever. I just think it's miscommunication. and Charles Silver got into Rob Burns after the yellow flag and ended both of their races early.
And it looks like, speaking of races ending early, we're going to have 10 cars, I believe, on the lead lap for this final restart. Kevin Cook in the back has got some pretty significant damage, but the 9 in front of him, I think, are all perfectly healthy, you know, beside Thomas Lattimore, who's got a little bit of that left front damage. So could see ourselves some crazy racing down the stretch. We'll see how crazy these guys want to get. Having that top 10 locked up might make these guys a little bit more racy.
Absolutely. And just some cars retired from tonight's event for sure. Paul Zada in the 63, he's going to be in the 21st position, finished. Nick Gillis in the 94, he's going to finish 22nd. Chuck Harrell's going to finish 24th. Josh Mayu 25th, Wayne Willard 26th, and Sean Medling 27th. That's going to round out the field tonight. Obviously, Rob Burns, Charles Silver, AJ Scarborough, Aaron Vincent, Ron Miller, a bunch of guys taken out in that accident. They're going to be ended the night as well.
So we talked about our leader here, Thomas Lattimore. You've got to think these guys are talking on TeamSpeaker and a private iRacing channel right now about what they want to do. You have to get the 48 behind you. He obviously can't be in front of you because that strategy is very dangerous. You have to check the whole field up, and we all know how that goes. So you have to get him behind you somehow, and that requires
you gotta
timing
wonder,
a restart.
And John, is he going to choose the outside line and maybe get a jump and try to get down in front of him?
That's true. I always forget that they do have lane choice. So you could always do the real-life strategy of starting on the high side, having your teammate just drag his feet a little bit, maybe, you know, not all the way to the floor with that gas pedal, and letting you get out in front. A lot less dangerous than having started on the inside and dragging, obviously.
Absolutely. And we're going to have a 4-lap shootout, John. 4 laps to decide it all for the ECR Daytona 500. What a better way to start off the 2015 season. I mean, up here in the booth, I mean, last night we finished under the yellow flag, but some great racing throughout the night overall. Obviously, some problems with your cockpit view. We're unable to stream it. But tonight, I mean, I've had a lot of fun up here in the broadcast booth. We've had some damn good racing out on the track. Obviously, some of the bigger names, you know, Anthony Fitchner, you know, Nick Gillis, Wayne Willard, Joel Hamilton, a lot of big names got taken out. Chuck Harrell got taken out in that first wreck. And obviously, the bigger names, some Thomas Lattimore, George Price, Joey Lamb, you know, Kevin Cook have been up front all night long. But you got to think of these underdogs. Troy Latart, Justin Bland. We haven't talked about them at all. Tom Clayton, Luis Salmazo. They're running 6th and 7th. Ryan Kirchball 8th, Nick Groff 9th. Who would have thought that these guys would have been up front right now with 4 to go?
And speaking of up front, it looks like Thomas Lattimore has chosen that outside lane choice. So he'll try to get the jump pulled down in front of the 48. And looking back to this field, for some reason I like the look of that 65 car of Justin Bland. I don't know why. I've seen him slowly creep his way up. He's been riding in the backpacks all race long. Now he finds himself in 5th. He's the car directly behind Joey Lamb. If he can get hooked up with Joey, and if they can make something happen, I really like that 65. He's got a clean nose. We know Giles Bland Racing is strong. If he can get up there, make something happen, I think he might be a contender for this one. Troy Latart, obviously, the 66 on the outside. From their back, you get a little bit difficult to catch, but Nick Groff, he's been fast all night as well.
And all these guys, we mentioned it before, maybe with the exception of Kevin Cook, because he has major front-end damage. He's in 10th right now, probably going to solidify a 10th place finish. But maybe with the exception of him, I think the other 9 cars all have the same amount of chances of winning this race right now. The 4-lap restart. These guys got to be careful. They get ready to go green. 4-lap restart. Jump
Flag
on
is
Tom
out.
Lattimore.
The jump on
Can
Thomas
Troy
Lattimore.
Latart clear him?
Gonna get way out front. I think too far out front and pull down here. Troy Latart, if he can get help, has a great run at this.
And Justin Bland to the outside trying to hook up with the 82. Thomas Lattimore's a sit and duck out there. If that 82 and 65 get up to him.
He's got to drag those brakes or something here. And contact, the 82 is going to be around into the front of the 81.
Caution yet.
And there's the caution.
Thomas Lattimore won.
And the 81 is going to go down
1-2.
and make hard contact with the inside wall.
A 1-2 finish.
What a night for Leadfoot Motorsports. Thomas Lattimore, who led most of the second half of this race, is going to walk away with your win. His teammate George Price, who's been a big help to the stream, is going to finish second as Leadfoot Motorsport teammate. And look at Justin Bland. Haven't talked about him all night until that last restart. Going to come home P3. Behind him, Troy Latart is going to be in 4th. A great
You
name
got to
for him.
think. I just want to point out, will Troy Latart receive the EOL for causing that yellow flag?
That's a good point. I didn't think of that contact between him and the 81. It's going to be interesting to see if the 81 comes down or if the 84 goes or the 82 goes up.
It definitely. I think the 82 may have gone down in front of the 81, and I'm not sure honestly why the yellow flag was thrown right there.
Certainly an
I,
interesting one.
Yeah, maybe you jumped the gun a little bit. And obviously, it's a tough call to make because you can get a lot of cars damaged if you don't throw it and everybody doesn't slow down. Very similar to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race on Sunday night. Maybe you jumped the gun a little bit. It's a controversial call.
I think the reason you throw it there is because there was so much contact between those two and there was so much smoke given off by the tires there that the guys in the back running in 7th and 8th and then the lap cars behind them, obviously they have to start checking up because they see the smoke. And I think that once they see a car out of line, maybe they check up more. And I think you have to throw the caution there. You might have something big towards the back of the pack.
You gotta think Troy Latart's probably going to receive the EOL here. If so is the case, Thomas Lattimore is your winner. George Price is second. Justin Bland third. Luis Salmozo, he was fastest in practice. Started 25th on the grid. That'll be a plus 21 positions for him. Clearly the most out of anybody in tonight's race. He will finish fourth. If the EOL will be given to Troy Latart. Tom Clayton, we mentioned him. We didn't talk about him a whole lot. He's in the 66 Ford Fusion. He's going to finish fifth. They may have switched it up a little bit. Luis Salzmo may be behind Tom Clayton and Joey Lamb. I think they're going to give Joey Lamb their spot back.
We'll have to see here. We'll wait until they come back around. Someone has to get the EOL, obviously. That's the ECR rule that if a caution comes out, it's between 2 or more cars. Somebody has to be at fault in giving the EOL. It's a system to keep guys in check, especially towards the end of a race, because obviously an EOL, on the last
and
caution,
there it is.
costs you all the
Troy Latart will receive the EOL.
What a tough break for him behind the wheel, that number 82, as he pulls to the apron. Such a great race all night long. He led a few laps here tonight, and it's going to end. I believe he'll come home with 10th position. I got to say, though, Joey Lamb gets very lucky here. I'm not sure exactly what angle he hit that inside wall. I know he hit the inside wall. You can see by the front of his car. Very lucky he didn't blow a motor, because a blown motor here cost him 7 spots. So lucky for Joey Lamb to hold on to that race car. Maybe sideswipe the wall or catch it at an angle and not blow that motor. He'll come home P4. So we're going to final look at your top 5 here. Now that they're all set. Thomas Lattimore, your victor tonight. That 03 Harley-Davidson Chevy Ford Fusion out front. A well with the Ford Fusion, teammate of George Price. Ford going 1-2 here at Daytona. Justin Bland coming in third. The 65 of Giles Plan Racing. The 81 of the 81 of Joey Lamb is going to be shown in the 4th position. And then I believe the 72 of Luis Salzmo is going to be coming home in 5th. Again, as Colin's typing in chat right now, if you guys have any questions for any of our top 3 finishers, again, that's Thomas Lattimore, George Price, and Justin Bland, please go ahead and submit those to the chat. We're going to pull these guys up and interview them just as soon as they get the checkered flag here and get to do a little bit of celebrating. I'm sure George Price will have a little bit of a love tap for his teammate for bringing home the win. So if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them in the chat. We'll be taking mailbag questions for our post-race interview.
And John, Thomas Lattimore, he messaged me. We were talking before this race, I think a couple nights ago, and we were talking, and he brought it to me. He said, I loved your Tuesday night broadcast, watching the dual race. He said, you got to watch out for Leadfoot Motorsports. He said that, word for word. We talked to him pre-race today. You know he's fast. You knew he was confident. And to get a 1-2 finish for Leadfoot Motorsports, to start out the year, they're going to be first and second in the point standings, John. These two guys have just I don't think anybody really thought about them as opposed to Apocalypse and Haters Make Us Famous and all these big name teams. These guys are a 2-car team, and they're holding the top 2 spots in points.
Yeah, we talked all night about these different teams, and a name that came up a few times that never really, for the lead, was Leadfoot Motorsports. And here we are down the finish. We mentioned they got lined up 1st and 3rd. That didn't work. And they got lined up 1st and 2nd, and they made that work. And they come home 1-2. So it's not like they lucked into this. It's not like, this was just something that fell into their laps. They both had mistakes on pit road. Thomas Lattimore spun out and hit the wall. George Price spun out and hit the wall. They both had mistakes. I believe George's was entering. Thomas's was exiting. So they both had mistakes. They both overcame adversity tonight, and they wind up 1-2. So a statement for Leadfoot Motorsports. Obviously, as you said, a 2-car team. They finished 1-2. It doesn't get any better than that. A great night for them, and Thomas Lattimore is going to come home your winner and your points leader after Daytona.
Absolutely, John, and just a great race overall. I had a lot of fun up here in the booth. This is a great race to call. Obviously, not everybody comes away happy. some of these guys back in the field. Jeff Hamilton, after starting on the pole, he's 17th. Joel Hamilton, 20th. Anthony Fitchner, 23rd. Nick Geilis, 22nd. A lot of these guys not having the best finishes. But this is Daytona. This is a crapshoot. And we go next week to Hotlanta, Hampton, Georgia. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I think this whole season's going to be great job.
I think any of these guys here sitting, as you see your top 10 results here, I think any of these guys on this page sleep well tonight. I don't think any of them have any regrets. Obviously, Troy Latart probably a little upset at that EOL, either himself or the admins if he didn't feel it was fault. As Aaron, I believe, brought up, it was a pretty obvious caution, or cause of the caution there, so I don't think he's upset. Probably more upset at himself than anything. Coming home 10th, but even at that, 10th place at Daytona, first race of the season, you don't know what you're going to get. A lot of new guys in the league, a lot of new teams, new setups, new everything out here. So coming home anywhere in the top 10, I think these guys are happy. And even some of these smaller teams coming home in the top 15, I don't think they can be upset with tonight at all.
Absolutely not. And you see Nick Olson talking about it in the chat there. He's the owner of Young Guns Racing. To come away the 6th, 8th, and 12th with Luis Salmazo, Ryan Kirchval, and Charles Silver. Some of these small teams just had some of the best nights possibly of the season. It's a great job.
And you see your winner tonight, Thomas Lattimore, burning down the infield grass here at Daytona. A huge power slide. We saw a few of those coming on the pit road tonight. This one, a bit more of a happy occasion as he'll get his victory lap going tonight. So, Colin, if you want to go ahead and pull down our third-place finisher, we'll get these post-race interviews underway.
Nice. Before this happens, I just want to point out Aaron Berge's comment right there. He's the defending Xfinity Series champion. We know he's fast. We know Apocalypse Motorsports is fast. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Aaron Berge, man, we're looking out for you.
Certainly always one to watch. Aaron Berge dominated last season's Xfinity Series, takes his talents up to the Cup level this season, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do next week, as well as all these guys. I mean, Daytona is kind of a weird way to start the season. It doesn't really show a whole lot of racecraft, and I don't want to use talent because obviously you have to have talent to race anywhere, but a whole lot of these guys' real personalities here, so it'll be interesting to see going next week to Atlanta.
Absolutely. And Justin Bland, number 65, GLS Bland Racing Machine, third place finish to start out the year. Obviously, you didn't get to run last night in the Xfinity Series. You come away, you run mid-pack all night long, and you come away with a third place finish. You have to feel good about that. You're going to have to sleep well tonight.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely really important to have a good start to start off the season. The whole team was really fast tonight. Just a lot of them got caught up in wrecks early on. I'm glad at least one of us was able to stay up here in the front.
Obviously, you and Troy were trying to hook up there at the end. Unfortunately, he got caught up in the accident, got the EOL for causing the accident. Unfortunately, you guys still have 2 top 10s. Not bad at all to start out the year. Obviously, we talked about earlier in the broadcast, Daytona's a crapshoot, as are Talladega and maybe some of the road courses. Obviously, these are crapshoots. You just have to feel good, with 2 guys in the top 10.
Yeah, exactly. These tracks, it's a monopoly. You never know what's going to happen. It's luck if you finish in the top 5. So to not have a single car DNF out of our whole team, we got out of here really lucky. I mean, there's teams out there that only 1 or 2 cars even finished. The rest of the teams are rebuilding. So we got really lucky here and just hope to carry the momentum we brought from Daytona over the next week at Atlanta.
Absolutely, man, and we'll have fun. Good top 3. Obviously, you can't feel bad about that, and good luck next week at Atlanta.
Thanks, bud.
That was your third place finisher, Justin Bland, in the number 65. Now we got your second place finisher, whose teammate ended up winning the race, 48 of George Price. Got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, I got you.
Obviously, it's got to feel great. Leadfoot Motorsports a 1-2 tonight. I got to ask you, though, how bad did you want that win towards the end there?
I wanted it pretty bad, but I couldn't leave him hanging. I had to just stick to his bumper.
Yeah, good teammate there in George Price. Obviously, we're set at the end under caution. Had it gone green, though, do you think we would have had the same result, Leadfoot 1-2?
I don't know. They were looking like they had a gap behind us there, so they might have gotten a decent run, but I wasn't lifting, so we were going to the front.
Well, there you go, guys. A true teammate, the number 48 of George Price, coming home second place tonight. Now we'll go ahead and pull down his teammate, the number 3, and our winner tonight, Thomas Lattimore.
Hey, Thomas Lattimore, man. Great run. You dominated tonight, especially in the latter half of the race. Domination at Daytona. You come away, you're in the ECR chase, you're qualified, lead foot 1-2 as an owner, as a driver. What a night for you, man.
Yeah, I'm really speechless. I don't even know what to say. I didn't expect that. Been working on the car for probably 3 months. Ever since I dropped out of the Truck Series last season, I started working on my setups and trying to figure things out. And really didn't expect to come out with a win. I was just looking for a good start to the season and just ran smart. I tried to mount a charge right there in that first start. It didn't work, so I just bid my time and had teammates at the end.
Absolutely, man. And Nick Olson from Waxhaw, North Carolina wants to know, what a win for a console, guys. 1-2, great job. And he wants to know what kind of momentum this is going to bring and what kind of momentum this is going to build for the future and starting at Atlanta next week.
Well, the one thing it does for me is, like you said, I'm in the chase. So that takes a lot of stress off of me. I'm the crew chief, the car chief, the setup guy for my team. So now instead of focusing on getting myself in there, I'm in. So I can build some setups for these guys and see if I can get some of them in with me.
Absolutely, man. And we saw you make the mistake on you had a great pit entry. That's some Matt Kenseth-esque, diving down on the pit entry, sliding through, just getting down to the 60-mile-an-hour pit road speed limit. But then you had the problem getting out of the pit stall. We saw you accelerate a little too much, hit that left front on the inside of the pit wall, had a little bit left front damage. What was your mindset going through there? Did you have any doubts with the damage?
I was actually hoping that the broadcast didn't catch it, to be honest. But yeah, I come in right there and I come in hard. The first two green flag stops, I really came in smoking the tires. And that last stop, I was taking two, and I knew I was racing Ron, and I wanted to get him out. And I gave it a little too much gas, got into the wall. Probably scared Ron. I come out in front of him.
Absolutely, man. And John, do you have any questions for Thomas, about tonight and about the future as well?
Well, I think he covered it pretty well. I think a lot of the pressure's off him now, and I know he touched on it with making the chase. One thing we didn't talk about a lot tonight is you win and you're in. And as he said, going forward to next week and working on setups, now he can work more on other people's setups. And I guess I just want to ask, for the viewers at home, how much time goes into building a setup for one of these tracks, especially a tough track like Atlanta next week?
What's necessary, it's not much. I guess it's all on the person. I like to get on there and tinker with it. Every day I'm getting on, I'm checking the weather. And every day I'm building a new setup every day just to do it. And so I'm learning what changes do what with what weather changes. And so that, my setups have a lot of time in them. Somebody else's may not, I would say a day.
Which, if you think about it, for someone, that has a life outside of racing, that's quite a bit of time, and it paid off tonight. Your winner, Thomas Lattimore, in the number 03 car, and Leadfoot 1-2. So congratulations, Thomas, and we look forward to seeing more from Leadfoot next week.
I appreciate it, guys.
So that was a fun race tonight, guys. I got to say, an absolute blast from pretty much the drop of the green flag. We had action early on with the cautions, and then some tame kind of green flag racing throughout, and then towards the end a rash of cautions there and one that ended it. But I got to say, Colin, a great start to the season, and I'm super excited to get started on even a better track next week.
Absolutely, John. Next week, if you guys thought, obviously tonight it's a lot of single car or single line, just drafting, trying to go 200 miles an hour, first going to do it. Next week, we might be going over 200 miles an hour entries, turn 1, turn 3. Atlanta's a lot more physical, John. You have to endure a lot more. It's wide. You have to let it carry out to the wall to get the most out of your car. And the one thing about Atlanta, John, is there's a lot of different lines. You could run the wall, you could run the bottom line, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 grooves at some point. So Atlanta's a lot more fun, and I think our viewers at home will really enjoy next week.
And it's one of those tracks that can bite you at any time. We know Atlanta, you're never safe there, whether it be through the quad oval, in the corner, even in the straightaways. That track is so slippery. It's always so hot there. These guys are going to have their hands full next week. So tonight, we got through Daytona. We survived it. We got a winner. Any closing thoughts on what was a pretty fantastic race?
Just congratulations to Thomas Lattimore and the whole Leadfoot Motorsports crew. We talked about them all night. We mentioned in the pre-race interviews that everyone was just going to ride in the back, buy their time. Those two didn't do that. Those two, Thomas Lattimore and George Price, ran up front all night. We were talking about them running up front all night, in the top 10 for sure all night long. And after that first pit stop, they were in the top 3, top 4. So great job by both of them. They were able to be in the right spot. We mentioned the storybook ending to a great race and a great start of the season for Leadfoot Motorsports. Just congratulations to those guys. And I'm hoping, those guys, Joel Hamilton, Anthony Titchener, and all those guys that endured troubles early on in lap 15, the big one in turn 3. I'm hoping those guys can bounce back strong next week.
The story next week might be one of redemption. A lot of guys looking for a bounce back. Obviously, a lot of bad points nights out there tonight. A lot of good ones as well. We had a lot of different leaders for Daytona. As you see, we had 6 lead changes tonight, so that's 6 bonus points handed out, as well as a few for most laps led. So a great race tonight. I thank you all for coming out. If you want to look on your screen right now, we do have, kind of hard to see, I'll fix that for next week, but the Twitters and stuff like that, again, at ECR_league, at moist_online for all your league information. We thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. Tuesday nights, 9:30, Green Flag Drops will be live just a little bit before that next week for your pre-race show. Congratulations to Thomas Lattimore and George Price of Leadfoot Motorsports on tonight's victory. We thank you guys for coming out. This was the first race of the 2015 ECR season, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.